go. Let's go. Let's go. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. We are live. Welcome in, y'all. Temple's in the building. What's up, Temple? Welcome in. Let's go. Let's go. GR Coop's in the building. Is it Kekyoing? Am I saying that correct? I'm sure I'm butchering that name, but thank you so much for hopping in. Jude is in the building. Welcome in, Jude. Farah's mom, I appreciate you being here as well. Welcome into the stream, y'all. I appreciate y'all being here. Thank y'all for tapping in today. Thanks for joining over on TikTok right now. We are live right now on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. We're getting things flowing here. Folk Drama, welcome in. Ash Dreams of Vertigo. Hive, welcome in. Ink Van, I appreciate y'all being here. Welcome into the stream. Welcome to Track Talk. I appreciate y'all tapping in. If y'all are coming in for the first time, I would love to know where you're joining from. Would love to know if you make music, the kind of music that you make, so on and so on. Nero, welcome in. I appreciate y'all being here. Michael Jackson's in the building. No way. Thanks for joining, y'all. Make sure y'all are tapping the screen. Share out the live with a few people. Don't forget to send your heart me. It does really help out the live stream quite a bit. I'll explain the whole structure of the stream here in just the next couple minutes as we get things flowing. As we get things kind of woken up on the other platforms that we're live on, we'll get things flowing. Gazelle, welcome in as well. I appreciate you being here. Or if it's Giselle, let me know. But thank you so much for joining. I appreciate y'all being here. I hope y'all are doing absolutely amazing. Would love to talk with y'all for a little bit before we get some things rolling. 361. J-Man's in the building. What's up, J-Man? Welcome in, y'all. Welcome, man. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Is it Lucas? Is it Lucas? Thank you so much for tapping in. Welcome over on the Purple app. I appreciate you being here. Bear Lord, welcome in. Shaylee, welcome in as well. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're going to get into some consultations here. We're going to listen to a handful of songs, like 6 to 8 songs, so on and so on. If you want to submit over on that platform, over on the Purple app, you can type !submit right there in the chat. You'll see the link to submit. I'm backwards on my screen. Line is over here on the side over here. If you're on TikTok, you can find that line on the other platforms that we're live on, or same on YouTube. YouTube and Twitch, you'll be able to see it right here. You'll see the whole form. You'll see kind of the whole methodology to submit right here. Over here on the side of the screen here, you can see how many songs we have left, what the minimums are, who we have in line, so on and so on. Nix, welcome in as well. Just a poet, I appreciate you being here. I'm on now. 18. It's weird. We're early. We're early. We got Derek Bennett in the building. Derek, I got you, man. I got you. I appreciate the submission. Let me get you. I'll be on for a couple hours, 18. A couple hours. I'm going to assume maybe 3 hours or so. 3 hours or so. I'll be on for a little bit. Let me go ahead and get Derek on here. But yeah, on a little bit earlier today. It is Libby and my anniversary today. So we're going to be doing some stuff later on and just taking the rest of the day off. So I'm going live a little bit earlier. Finished most of my early projects yesterday. So I'm taking a little bit of early time here so we can chill the rest of the day and actually have a little bit of time off, which is very, very rare for us. Trey, welcome in. I appreciate you joining. Welcome in, Trey. Thanks for hopping in. Skip, Corey, welcome in. Let me see. Bloom, I appreciate you tapping in as well. Welcome in. If y'all are coming in on any of the different platforms, thank you, Derek. I appreciate it. Hey, of course, man. Take your time. I'm just getting things flowing here. We'll get into my spiel here in just a couple minutes. But I appreciate y'all tapping in on TikTok, on Twitch, on YouTube. Thank y'all for joining. If y'all are over on TikTok, do me a huge favor. Make sure y'all are tapping the screen. Share out the live with a few people. We'll dive into the music here in just a moment. Let me get Derek up on the board. Don's in the building. Noah, welcome in as well. I appreciate y'all being here. Captain, welcome in. Is it Huang? Welcome in as well. I really appreciate you tapping in. And thank you for the follow as well. GR Coop, if you want to submit, everything's at my profile. You'll see a submit form right there, which I will be updating here pretty soon. But give me 2 minutes. Jordy, welcome in. It's good to see you. I'll explain the whole live stream. I'll explain the structure and kind of what we have going on here. Let me get a couple things refreshed. Make sure everything is up and running on all of the different platforms. It looks like it is. Kivas, welcome in. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. AKU, yes, we do some long form consultations here. So we will get into some breakdowns of your music. Bob, welcome in. I appreciate you being here. You're good, GR. You're good. I think I have your email. I'll just double check for the full submission here in a second. Just make sure that you do read through all of the details there. I do think I have an email, but I just want to make sure I get everything in line. 2 minutes, y'all. Give me just one more minute here while I get a few things updated. But y'all, let me know where you're joining from. Let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know if you make music, the kind of music that you make. I 5 minutes. Have you been to? No, I've never been to South Korea. I've never been. It would be cool to go. It would be cool to go. It'd be. I mean, I would love to travel a lot more. But yeah, I've never been to South Korea. I've actually never. I don't think I've been to anywhere in Asia, to be honest. I've only been to a couple places internationally, not a ton, not a ton. I would love to travel a bit more. Corey, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that a lot. Okay, let's get into the live, y'all. Let's get into the music. We're gonna dive in here in just 1 second. Let's get this updated over here to. Let's go. Let's go, Coop. I like it. Okay, for those of you who have never been here before, or maybe you have and you just need the reminder, thank you for the follow, Loco. I appreciate it. For those of you who have never been here before, welcome to Track Talk. Welcome to the live stream. Kivas, thank you for the follow as well. I appreciate that. If you've never been here before, what we do at Track Talk are 20 to 30 minute multiple listen, deep dive consultations on the structure of your music. These are long, they're detailed, they're nuanced. We spend a lot of time on your music. Like I said, 20 to 30 minutes long. We're listening to your song, your beat, your production, whatever it is, 2 to 3 different times to really get into the details of it, get into the nuances of it. We're here to break down the structure of your mix and master, production elements, sound design choices, lyric and song formatting, really get into the nuances of what you're doing both creatively and practically within the structure of your music. This is not a review. There's no quick trash or pass. There's no ratings. There's no polls. JJ, thank you for the gold medal. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for your generosity. I appreciate that a lot. It's not, like I said, there's no trash or pass, there's no ratings, there's no polls. This is strictly about really getting into the details and the nuances of your music. I'm not here to trash you. I'm not here to roast you. I'm not here to, break you down. I'm not here to hype you up. I'm not here to give you exposure. There's plenty of places for that. That is not the format of this live stream. If the algorithms kick off and you get, a bunch of eyes and ears on your music and you do get some exposure, beautiful. I love it. I'm so happy that happened, but it's not my priority. It's not the format of the stream is not necessarily pointed in a way to make that as conducive as possible. The goal is to really get into the details of the music, which means we take a long time. We really get into the nuances of it, which also means that things move a little bit slower, but it's something that we hold to and really making sure that we break down the music. For those of you who don't know as well, my name is Torvik. I'm a full-time audio engineer, producer, and session musician. That is what I do for a living. I've done that for the last 14 plus years. I'm also a classically trained pianist. So that is kind of the perspective and the goal of this live stream, to really use these 20 to 30 minute consultations to offer as much value and professional, actionable feedback on the structure of your music as possible. If you would like to submit for the consultations that we're talking about right here, you absolutely can. This is any genre, any style, any level of quality or preparedness. We will hear released tracks, we'll hear unreleased tracks, we'll hear mixed and unmixed. We'll hear, people that have been producing for a month and Grammy-winning session musicians. We're going to hear voice memos and we're going to hear polished products, right? We're going to hear a lot of variety. Doors, thank you for the follow. We're going to hear a lot of variety as far as what people submit in the genres and stuff like that. If you would like to submit, we just hopped on Thief. Absolutely. Thank you for the follow as well. We haven't even heard our first song yet, so submissions are wide open. We'll listen to probably between 6 and 8 songs today, give or take 6 or 8 songs. What's up, Jenna? Welcome in. So if you want to submit and you're on TikTok, all you have to do is go to my profile. You'll click on the link and you'll see all the details right there. You can submit straight through there. You'll see the email to send it to, and you'll see where to send credit a little bit lower. So you can go to my profile, click on the link, and then read through and follow the steps there. JJ, thank you for the bubblegum. I appreciate you so much. If you are on the Purple app, use your imagination. We're live over there as well. You can type !submit right there in the chat. If you're on the Red app, starts with a YT, then you can go to the description for the live stream and you'll see everything that you need right there as well. Those are also the other platforms that we're live on, where you can see the line, the order, minimums, how many songs we have left, where you're at in the order. And as we kind of, as people come in and they skip and they move around, you can kind of constantly see where you're at and where other people are at. I usually recommend that you just keep another tab open to where you can kind of see exactly where everything is. We do not go on Kick. Libby, thank you for the heart me. I appreciate that so much. But let's get into some music. Let me get a couple things updated here. Ethan, I got your email. I appreciate you so much. Welcome in, welcome in. Once again, if you're on TikTok, do me a huge favor. Tap the screen. Make sure y'all are liking the live. Share out the live with a few people. And also don't forget to send your heart me. It does really help out the live stream quite a bit. Harry Styles, Ray, Madonna. What about it, Pop Bass? What about him? Okay, and really quick, just as a reminder, y'all, this is not for popular artists. You don't request in the live. If you want to submit, you don't request in the chat, rather. If you would like to submit music, there's an order for everything. Go to my profile. You'll see the link there. Just read through those details there. And we're about to jump into our first song. Derek, I know you're on the, I have a couple people coming in right now. I'm just waiting on a few things. Let's see. Aiton, I got you. Aiton, let me know. For an album, like, so feel free. Okay, sounds good, Aiton. I got you. I'm gonna get you up on the board here as well. Derek, let me know. I know both of y'all are kind of on the road. That some of the people that have skipped, they're all like busy at the same time, just wanting to make sure they get themselves on the board and in line. I don't know if I've heard the latest from Madonna. I do love Ray though. I think Ray, her producers and what she does from a song structure standpoint, I think is really interesting. I like a lot of Ray's new stuff. It's pretty cool. As far as like, a modern pop artist, I think she does a great job. Okay, let me get Aiton up here. Derek, let me know. I know you've been kind of on the road, Derek, so let me know if you're able to be somewhat present. And then if so, I can make sure I get everything in order here. Or if you just want to kind of take it as we normally do and go back and re-reference some things and answer as you can, let me know. Yeah, I love Ray. I'm also a stan for Hans Zimmer. So obviously that whole series right there, I think is a really, really great production structure. Doors, I have your email, but I don't have a full submission. Same with Max and same with Cooper. So just please double check for me. I think some of y'all are only sending emails, which is fine. Just make sure you do the other half. If you want to submit for a consultation, don't skip all of the steps and jump, straight to email. Just please make sure that you read through everything. So start at the top and move down from there. If you want to submit your music, go to my profile, click on the link, read through and follow the steps there. If you do read through and follow the steps, I'll be notified just like everyone else. I'm getting on the board right now. And then we'll get things flowing. Thank you, Jenna. I appreciate the help a lot right now. I appreciate the help. Thank you. It always helps having a mod in here and have someone to help out with some of the structure. Let me double check a few notifications here and make sure I'm getting everything in order. But I appreciate y'all so much for tapping in today. Keep tapping the screen, share out the live. Don't forget your heart me. It does really help out the stream. Unless he's not going yet. Yeah, Derek, I think he has about an hour before he's actually able to submit. Or actually able to come in for his breakdown. So let me know if you're available to go right now. And we can run yours. Or we'll wait for, I think there's a couple other people that I'm waiting on right now as well. People are just kind of filtering in right now. We're getting some things flowing. Let's see. Yeah, Flushed, Doors, Cooper. Let's see. Jan, Kirsten, Tom. Yeah, we got a couple people I'm still waiting on. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Let's get into it. You just parked getting a burger? Fire. What burger? What kind of burger? Talk to me. I'm not even that hungry, but burger always sounds good. We got Derek Bennett in the building. I know what Derek, Romeo, welcome in. Romeo, it's good to see you. I appreciate you tapping in today. I always appreciate what Derek does. Derek's a great composer, producer. I'm excited to dive in what you're working on. Sonic and Cheese Sticks. Hey, you know what slaps is, very random side note here before we get into the music. Sonic's corn dogs. They slap. I remember being in like high school and they would have 50-cent corn dogs on like some random Thursday in the month. And I'd have like 6 of them. It's crazy. It's so gross now, but it slaps. When it slaps, it slaps. Okay. Anyways, major side note there. Let's get into some music. Derek Bennett, you know the deal. Drop some details in the chat if you have them. Otherwise, we'll listen to this. Let me know if this is fresh or if it's something we've heard before and it's an updated revision. Based on the name, I think it's new. Based on the name, I'm pretty sure this is a new one. All right, let's get into it. Let me see. Him remake featuring Audrey Carrasco. Am I saying that correctly? Let's get it. This is Never Grow Old by Derek Bennett Music. Let's run it.
I have heard of a land on a faraway strand. 'Tis a beautiful hope of the soul, built by Jesus on high. There we never shall die.
It's a different feel from a lot of the other stuff I've heard. Way more major, open.
In that beautiful home where we'll never more roam, we shall be in a sweet by and by. Happy praise to the King through eternity sing. 'Tis a land where we never shall die.
Great voice.
to our home in the sky, where the place will never die. I'll sing praise
Love those layers.
to
Beautiful.
the King for eternity. Oh, the praise will never
Thank you for the heartbeat. Go to my profile, click on the link, and just read through and follow the details. Lines on the other platforms. Thank you, Skywalker. Appreciate the gifts.
Where we'll never grow.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Y'all show some love, show some love, show some love. That is Never Grow Old by Derek Bennett Music. He's over on the Red app right now. Thank you so much for sending that in, man. This, as far as, obviously some of this has to do with pacing, but from a structure standpoint, this feels one of the more like concise. I mean, some of that, again, like it's pacing, it's BPM and stuff like that. As more of a contemporary, pop edge to it. That breakdown feels like it has a lot more structure than a lot of the other songs that you sent in. So this, I mean, it's good to have some variety, obviously, in the catalog that kind of fit a different, aesthetic and a different mood. In this case, though, this feels like you have great dynamic range. You have some good breakdowns, really full percussion structure. I love that snare. I love a big, deep, beefy snare. It sounds awesome. So let's get into a couple details here. But yeah, this is really well done, man. Really well done. Let's run it from the top and let's dive in. Once again, a couple of people were asking if you would like. Thank you, Skywalker. Thank you so much for the gifts. I see the shard. I see the freestyle, the oldies. Thank you so much for your generosity. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for that. If anybody would like to submit their music for a consultation like we're getting into here, go to my profile, click on the link, read through and follow all of the steps there, and we'll get you up on the board. You can find the line that has the order, the how many songs we have left, minimum, stuff like that. It's on the other platforms that we're live on. You can kind of use your imagination, but you can find those at my link as well. We're live on the Red and Purple app right now. Line is always up over there. Skywalker, if you want to submit, go to my profile, click on the link, and then just read through and follow the details there. All right. Let's run it from the top.
I have heard of a land on a faraway strand. 'Tis a beautiful home of the soul, built by Jesus.
Let's go. I love that, dude.
There we never shall die.
Thank you for the
'Tis
follow.
a land where we never grow old.
Really quick, I know this is a producer mix, so obviously, I'm keeping all of this in mind, but just as you very well know, I like to just make sure that when you go into mixing phases, you kind of know what to request and also what to kind of point your attention towards, so you kind of know what you're demoing. I got you, Durancer. You're on the board. I appreciate you so much, man. So you know how to demo so that you get as accurate of a mix coming back. Because obviously sometimes if there's a majorly transformative mix, it can be difficult to understand what's original vision versus what professionally the engineer wants to do. And that's always a conversation that is necessary to be like, I still want a lot of these original things in here, which then again, you might have like this really washed reverb and delay in the actual final mix that maybe isn't the best thing for clarity and separation and distinction, right? What's up, Markeel? Welcome in. Yeah, earlier today. It's our Libyan Arts our anniversary, so we're going to be taking the rest of the day off. So I'm finishing some stuff up early this morning, live a little bit early this morning. Then we'll take the rest of the day off. I appreciate you tapping in, man. It's good to see you. Okay, so I'm going to back this up here. So one of the things as far as like early demos of this, these early demos, I would pull back, maybe still, dude, appreciate you. Thank you so much, both of you. I appreciate that a lot. The early effects that you have on here, I'd pull back a little bit. I think you can go a little bit drier. I don't mind kind of a long haul reverb that's, it's, kind of dark, a Valhalla style, right? It's like dark, it's pretty washed. It's got a little bit of modulation to it. I don't mind that one bit, right? But all of that in tandem to really big like ping pong delays and stuff like that, even in your demos, right? This is again because you want to represent what you want out of the mix as much as possible. Even in your demo, maybe pull back on those delays and rely maybe a little bit more Never know what to do. The vocals it can be a little bit of a different animal than obviously a lot of the production structure. So with those there, just be maybe a bit more subtle, maybe a little bit more transparent, I think would be fine. You have these like really nice like marimba and like bell tones in the background and obviously piano and pads. So there's plenty of space, right? There's plenty of ambiance in this track already. You don't really need to fill in a lot with big ambiance on the vocals. You want it there so that it fills in some of those gaps, but not necessarily like takes over the mix. And these big ping pong delays, they take over a little bit. I love a good ping pong delay. So maybe just pull it back like 20%, you know, maybe take the reverb down by 20% again, so you get a slightly clearer representation of where you want those vocals before you send it into an engineer to work on. Trevor, absolutely any genre, any style, any level of quality.
I have heard of a land on a faraway strand. 'Tis a beautiful home of the soul, built by Jesus on high. There we never shall die.
So you already have all of this space, right? So we don't really need to capitalize on that or fill that out too much at all. You already have plenty of space going on here. No, not a problem at all.
'Tis a land where we never grow old.
Good melody structure though. Good space.
In that beautiful home where we'll never more roam, we shall be in sweet by and by. Happy praise to the King.
A lot of this introduction of, you know, some of the spiccatos in the background, a lot of the energy right there I like. You made the whole mix deeper and warmer, a little bit of rhythmic energy in there between like the bells and the spiccatos. Like it does offer you a lot of energy. There's a lot of anticipation on these buildups right here, which I think you've done a great job of.
Through eternity sing, 'tis a land where we never shall die.
Really good voice too. Her phrasing, her lift in the mix is really, really nice. It's very natural. Love it. Really, really like clean, pointed vocal. Beautiful. Was this tracked with you? Was this tracked with you, or was this sent to you? Either way, it doesn't matter. It sounds good. I was just curious because I know you were taking on more tracking sessions.
Shall die.
I don't mind the pickup too. Yeah, Trevor, of course. Yeah, if anyone wants to submit, go to my profile, click on the link. Everything's right there. I don't mind the pickup of pace here too. You double time a little bit, kind of bring it back. Again, there's a bit of anticipation of how the song is like morphing and moving, really takes you along that journey. So from a production pacing standpoint, I really think you've done a great job, man. It's kind of keeps you on your toes a little bit without like pulling you out of the emotion, which I think is awesome. I think that's great. Low mutes on the guitar, great. There's those little, dude, there's a lot that I really like about this. We've talked a lot about those stair steps, right? Of just like every 4 bars, every 4 measures, introducing something different, something a little fresh, something a little new in order to kind of pick up the pacing and give you a little bit more energy in the mix. Idea, welcome in, good to see you. And as you're doing that, you bring in a little bit of these like rim shots and stuff like, right? Like the stuff in the background right there in the B section of the verse to give it a little bit more sauce, right? Just like a little bit more energy, a little bit more openness right there. All of that sounds awesome. Molly Sings, welcome in. I hope you're doing amazing today. One thing I'm kind of curious on, this opens up a lot right here. And I don't want, there's so much great like presence and like emotion in this early, like these first hooks with the boom, 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 right? Like these really big open parts. It feels really, really massive. I'm feeling a little bit of like just some emptiness and some drawback right here when we go into the second verse, when we go boom, ka, boom, ka. We fill in with some of the rim hits later on. That helps. I think it could be nice. You don't have to do this, of course. It does sound fine and could be mixed well too. But it could be nice to keep a little bit of that syncopation that you already have in the boom, 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 some of the triplet move in there, like off the toms. So if you have the boom, boom right now, have like boom, 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 like you still have some of the triplet on the tom going from high to low. You still have a little bit of those transitional elements there, so you don't feel like you're emptying out so much of like the really heavy cinematic production elements and those really massive like score snares and toms and timpanis and stuff like that. And then it empties out so much just like kick snare. It's such a change in that like weight and presence in the mix that it makes it feel cheesier. It makes it feel like almost too simple and poppy and preppy. And I still want some of that weight in there. And I do feel like maintaining some level of sequencing for like your lower toms and maybe some other like snare flams and like little ghost notes and stuff like that could help with filling in some of the vibe right here. Because once you move into this open part, I don't mind you doubling time. It's a good switch in the energy right there, but I do feel like we're missing a little bit of the weight that we carry through the hook. So play around a little bit with that. Like I said, still maintaining some like ghost notes on the snare, still maintaining some of the triplets on the toms, just very lightly, still maybe simple, but a little bit more in between. Appreciate you so much. Let's go, Molly. I love that. Amazing. It's like here. Like still have a doom doom, and as a drummer, like I'm imagining playing like as a drummer, I'm imagining playing the boom 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 doo doo ka, like going from the high to the low, having some of those interludes in there to maintain again some of the like the weight and the drive that happens by having some of the fillers on the tom. I think you can still do it somewhat simply without it, taking up too much of the space and being too, muddy. But I think you can also help kind of amplify these like 16ths that come in on the muted acoustic. You have the little fast pacing like palm mutes that you have in stereo on the acoustic guitars right there. Adding some energy to that and kind of accenting that, I think would help just keep that intensity in there without it, again, becoming cheesy or too open or too poppy. A couple like tiny little things in there. And these are like easy little things. Feel free to, mess around with them a little bit. But honestly, a lot of this production, I think you've managed really well. You've built out a lot of your sound design really well. Like I mentioned before, I feel like this is one of the more cohesive, like faster BPM productions I've heard, while still honoring the Derek Bennett, kind of cinematic world and the him remix world. I think you've still held to that while creating something that honestly is structured really well, man. I'm liking a lot of what I'm hearing here. Got you, Ethan. Got you, Ethan. Appreciate it. Let's get into this breakdown here.
And when we get to our home in the sky,
great dynamic range. There's a little mud between progression in there. So
when we get to our home in the sky, the place will never die.
Whole G sharp. Right there, dun, dun, dun. So you have this, it's like a B, C sharp low right there. There's a couple little pockets down there. The initial progression, there's like a original melody, walks back down, and I think it like hold some of the elements instead of walking through the progression again. I think some of them still move. Some of them maybe hold on the E major, like on the 4 right there, while some other pads or strings in the background, maybe even like these choral choir elements, are like still holding on a particular note right there. Gets a little bit muddy on the second like 2 measures right there. So revisit that just a little bit and just make sure that everything's following progression or complementing progression, especially between like your low elements and high elements. Because I love the dynamic range here. I love that you pull everything back before you really open up the song on the last hook here, in this last breakdown. First walk up from the E major, F major, F sharp major, G sharp minor. All of that sounds, really clean and everything follows well. Right after that, your second walk through that progression, that's where it gets a little money. So let me hear it one more time. This is a Neumann M147 tube.
And when we get to our home in the
Good
sky,
follow. Yeah, the vocals follow right there. So I think that might be what I'm hearing too. The vocals are kind of acting as this like glue pad in the background. And you do get these beautiful choral harmonies on the outside following. like when it's following that melody, those are in a space that's like really, really clean. Like all of that follows beautifully. I think second section, I don't think they follow it. That is probably where some of that mud is coming from. All of this is beautiful. Here, starts, holds, and shifts. Yeah, I think there's a cello that comes in, and the choir hold changes. Those two elements right now not following the progression of the acoustic. I think that still follows. I think like acoustic, maybe piano, still follows the progression, but then the choir shifts and doesn't. And I think there's a cello that comes in that also doesn't follow progression. That's where it gets really muddy. Yeah, the choir. I think it's the choir and a cello. If I'm hearing correctly, that no longer they shift to like a different transition, while I think like acoustic and piano, maybe something along those lines, is still walking through the progression. And that's where we get this kind of disconnect between those two elements. One of two things: you either, if the choir can't be changed, if the choir is like live tracked, right, and it can't really be altered too much, you don't want to like melodine the choir to like a different note and chord to be a little chaotic. Then what I would do is like try to like add the choir. Or I'm sorry, keep the choir, as in like change your acoustic guitar and maybe like the piano progression or whatever it is that is shifting. Keep that on maybe those notes to like match the choir again. So let me hear. Bad idea. I got you. I appreciate you so much. I'll update the line here in just a few minutes.
I'll sing praise to the King.
So they hold.
For eternity.
So you might just want to stick with. You know what I mean? Like as opposed to. And shifting there, but half of them aren't doing that. If you want to match the choir and maybe the cello that comes in, you might just want to hold on the E for a moment and like walk it up from there. That gives you some tension on the transition, just holding on the E major and creating some expanded chords from there. But the E being kind of the root of all that. Ethan, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. That being kind of the root of it, and then moving up from there. But I think it's just because half are moving, half aren't, and it gets really muddy there in the mids right there. Okay, let's keep it rolling here. Let's get into this outro here. That's a great dynamic shift right there, though. Beautiful voice. Same thing when you're looking forward to the mix of the song. Is again, this is just producer mix. We're still waiting on engineer. When you're looking towards the engineered mix of the song, same thing. Like here, you want to like dry up these vocals quite a bit, right? Of course, during the choir, during your hooks, a nice, big reverb on there, make it feel really spacious and really, vibrant. But when you get into this, we will never go on this like last little line, I would dry that up considerably, where you have everything feel a little bit more intimate, a little bit more forward, a little bit more direct, as opposed to it's only like piano in the background, but it still feels like we're stadium huge, right? You want it to feel a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more connected. So that's where I would just like lean into some very, very small automation changes. Again, so that your engineer, whoever you go to, ends up having a better picture of how do I want this to sound? Are they wanting huge reverbs and delays all the time? Or is there some spaces where we can tighten this up a little bit? And or make sure you have pre-notes. This really helps when I'm engineering for people, when I have clients that I'm working with, and beforehand we have some vision notes. Like usually I'll just talk to them like, well, before they send me a record, about, hey, what's the vision of this? What are we looking for? Are there any artist references, not to copy, but to stylistically speaking, like ambiance wise, that you like the way that they tune their vocals, stuff like that. It can be helpful to have some of those references. Like I know you already have with a lot of your productions. But even like with this, making some notes for the engineer, you're like, hey, here's my, I'm not an engineer, but here's my producer mix. Here's a couple notes that I know I want in here. So I have a bunch of delays on here, but I would like a drier verse. I would like a dry outro. I typically like the vocals kind of tuned this way. Having some like pre-notes for an engineer it can save you so much time. It can save you so much time on just like your own need for revisions too, of being like like, an engineer having to guess kind of what you're wanting out of your record and be like, hey, here's songs that I like the reverb on, I like the space of the drums on. Here's, a way that I typically like things happening. That can be really helpful, especially like you said, as you're shopping around a little bit. It can be helpful to have some direction as far as like this is as close to as I want it to be as possible. I'll probably touch them up as best as possible, as well as notes. Beautiful. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Y'all show some love. Show some love. Show some love. Which is a new Brown album is getting mixed reviews. I don't think I've heard it. And Prince, thank you so much for tapping in. This is not a request live. We don't listen to a popular artist in here unless you are specifically connected to that record. Like if you played cello on Jake's album, then we can listen to the stuff that you did and break it down a little bit. Introverted, thank you for the heart. I appreciate the heart me. I appreciate that so much. What we do here are really detailed long form consultations. So they take about 20 to 30 minutes an artist. We break it down. We listen to the song multiple times to really dive into the details of the mix, production, sound design choices, engineering, lyric and song formatting, stuff like that. So if y'all would like to submit for something in that vein where we can really dive into the nuances of what you're doing, then all that happens at my profile. Go to my profile, click on the link, and then just read through and follow the details there. You can check the line on the other platforms that we are live on. But y'all show some love, man. Show some love. That is Derek Bennett Music. They're over on the Red app right now. Show them some love and support. We love and appreciate Derek so much. That's one of the family right there. Amazing producer. He produced and wrote and orchestrated, composed all of that. So he's amazing at what he does. So please show him some love and support. That's the family right there. Let's keep it rolling. Let me get a couple things updated here. So Bad Idea came in, I believe. Let me see. Let me update a few things here. Let me see. Where is Eric? Let me know where Eric is really quick. And then also I have a half submission from Eric. And then let's see, Ethan, I got you. Jabronster, I got you. Let me get this updated over here. And let me see. Let me make sure I double check the artist name here. Let me see. Any genre. One slot. Sounds good. Hurricane Princess. Where's Hurricane Princess? Princess. I can't talk. Of course, man. Of course. I know we gotta touch base too, and get on a call here pretty soon. Okay, Bad Idea. I have a half submission for you, so just do me a favor. I know you've submitted before, but just make sure that we read through and follow all the details there. Make sure that you check the line if you want to. I want to make sure that we get you on the board in the right place. And that is Once Lost. Okay, perfect. SF is you, right? Once Lost. Initials SF. Finney, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate that. Let me get all these in order. So, no, you're totally good. The ones, yeah, you're good. Once Lost, I got you up there. It's a Bad Idea. I've got to get them up. I got to get them in the right spot. All right, Once Lost, I got you on there. I got you. Let's see. Ethan, let me know if you're in. Let me see. Let me double check a few things here. Make sure I get y'all in the right order, and we'll dive in. Y'all keep tapping the screen. Share out the live with a few people. Don't forget to send your harmony. It does really help out the live stream. If you would like to submit and you're on TikTok, go to my profile, click on the link, read through and follow the details there. If you're on the purple app, you can type !submit. If you're on the red app, you can go to the description for the live stream. We'll give you a full 20 to 30 minute breakdown. We'll dive into the details of your music. No review, no trash or pass, no ratings or polls, just a long form detailed consultation to really get into the weeds with your music, get into the nuances of your music. That sounds interesting to you, then all of those details are at that link. Line is over on the red and purple app, and you can find those at our link as well. Let me say, I don't see Ethan currently. I know they were out for a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and if they're not here right now, I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next one here really quick. Let me see, because I know they were having to kind of dip in and out a little bit. So let me double check a few things here. Jabronster, I believe that's going to put you up. So let me go ahead and pull up your track here. We got a Dead Mouse remix here. Beautiful. Sounds good. You got a bit of time. Finney, if you would like to submit or anybody would like to submit, go to my profile, click on the link, and then read through and follow the steps there. You'll see all the details right there. And if you want, which I would encourage you to do, check the other platforms that we're live on, which you can find at my link as well, and you'll be able to see the line over there. They say electronic music was soulless. I don't agree with that necessarily. What dictates electronic music? That's the fun question. As soon as this analog passes into this and hits this wire, it's and I'm utilizing electricity in order to actually give it power. Is that technically electric? It's electronic. All right, anyways, that's stupid. Okay, this is Science. This is Science, Deadmau5 Jabronster remix. Let me get it downloaded real quick. It's doing good. Thank you for the follow. I really appreciate that a lot. Yeah, I absolutely can. Yeah, if anybody wants to submit, profile link, follow the steps there. You can go faster if you want to, or you can chill in the background. There's not a problem at all. I'll probably be listening to like five or six more songs. I'm just waiting for this to download. Give it just a sec. Give it just a sec, and then we'll dive into these next ones. Here we go. Okay, let's get it. All right, it's downloaded. We're playing it. I got a couple more coming in here. I'll get those updated on the board as well. Hit us with the piano. Oops, there we go. Hit it with the piano. I need that. That should be my producer tag. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into it. And I'll update the line here in a second. I'm gonna get these rolling. All right, this is Jabronster. Jabronster's a monster. Just not, it's not a pun. No rhyme intended, but he is an absolute beast of a producer. So Jabronster, you know the deal. Let me know, as well as let the chat know the role that you play in your music. I always want people to like kind of remind, and people's situation changes too, right? The reason why I always say that is because there's people that were doing BeatStars leases and stripping, MP3s off of YouTube, and then they started producing their own stuff, or then they started working with a different producer, or going to work with session musicians at a studio. People's situation changes all the time, so I always just ask people, let me know what you're doing in your music, and also, let everyone else know kind of the role that you play in your music as well. Okay, actually, let me update these really quick before I run this. That way, I don't have to think about it later. Idea, I got you. I got you. Let me get all this updated. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Got you. I got you. Let me get you on the board. All right, this is Science by Jabronster. They're over on the Red app right now. If you want to say what's up. Let me see. What's a good budget mic for a beginner? Anything Lawton or Lewitt, I think, is probably the best for a budget. Depends on that budget. If it's 200 below, if it's 400 below, 800 below, which I would all consider budget mic. Anything under like $800 I would consider a budget microphone. It kind of depends on where in that budget you're lying, but anything from Lawton or Lewitt, I think are probably, there's some SE microphones in there that would work really well. Anything from Lawton or Lewitt are going to be probably some of the best budget mics that you're going to find. I would get them over pretty much any of the AKGs in that space. I'd get them over definitely over any of the Warm Audios in that space. A lot of the Rhodes in that space. So yeah, I mean, get a Lewitt 440 Pure or LCT 240 Pro. Get an LA 220 or 320. If you want a tube microphone a little bit higher up on that, those are going to be great options. Those to me are going to be very versatile, fairly low noise, high SPL. Good condenser microphones that are going to last you a long time before you want to move up a little bit farther. But that's my just gut response to that. All right, this is a remix of Science by Deadmau5. I'm the only and main producer of this song. Let's dive in. Let's go, man. Heavy. Nasty, nasty, nasty. Y'all show some love. Polaroid, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that so much. Y'all show some love to Jabronster right here in the chat. Show him some love. Show him some love. Show him some love. Beautifully done, man. A lot of great sound design in here. There's a couple little things that I do want to get into. Lucky, welcome in. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, if anybody would like to submit for the consultations that we're getting into here, I got probably 4 or 5 songs left. Go to my profile, click on the link, read through and follow the details there, and we'll get you up on the board, ready to go. If you want to check the line, the orders, how many songs we have left, stuff like that. The minimums, you can find it on the other platforms that we're live on, which is the Red and Purple app. You can find them at my link. The line's always up over there, so just keep it up on a tab or just bounce over there to see where it's at. We're live over there as well. You can also hang out on those apps as well. Let's get into it, man. This is Jabronster, but yeah, if you want to submit, if you're on TikTok, go to my profile, click on the link, read through and follow the details, and then get yourself up there. All right, this is Science by Jabronster. It's a Deadmau5 remix. There's a couple things I want to dig into. Some is just actual formatting of it, and like repetition within the production structure, the sampling within the production structure. Those are the things that I'm kind of looking at here. A couple little mixings I want to dive into just for a moment. Can I DM me? I mean, you can DM me in general, but as far as submitting, you have to go through the process. We got to get you in line with everyone else. I won't submit. You won't submit through a DM. We're gonna submit stars, and no worries at all. Mrs. Doing good. No, don't worry about it. Take your time. We'll be here for the next 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. You got a little bit of time. All right, Jabronster. Let's dive in, man. Let's dive in. About me doing it, I don't do paid promotion. So no, if like you can't like pay me to like post your music or something like that. I don't do anything like that. But if you're talking about like live or like talking about whatever, then yeah, we can. Or just like actually just like doing the work that I do full time, then yeah, 100%. But I don't do any paid promotion. I'm not gonna flood my page with just other people's music and stuff like that. Okay, let's keep this rolling. I work full time as an engineer, producer, and session musician. So that's what I do full time. I've done that for 14 plus years. Classically trained musician. So that's what I do full time. So it's mixing and mastering, full production scale, as well as session work. So people hire me as a session musician to play electric, acoustic, bass guitars, synths, keys, live drums, track vocals, whatever it may be. So that's what I do full time. And then on this live stream, we're doing these consultations. Kirsten's in the building. Kirsten, I got you. Let me get you up on the board as well. Sorry, I have you from the other day. Boom, 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 boom. Let me get you on there. Boom. You're back on the board, Kirsten, already. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. If you're interested in that, shoot me a message. That's part, all of those different things within the music space is what I do full time. All right, Jabronster, let's get it. And Kirsten, I don't know if you heard the other day, but anytime I save you, I always make sure that I add to yours. So you actually have 15 now. You sent 10 the other day. You actually have 15 now as well. So you actually have a little bit of a boost on there, just so you know. And you can always check the line to kind of see where you're at or see where you want to go and stuff like that. But I actually have you up there with a little bit of a step forward. SJC, welcome in. Okay, so really quick here. This is more on the processing, processing side and on the mix side. Again, there's some good sound selection in here. There's some good movement and build up here. Especially within this genre, I don't mind it. It's very in line with what I would expect to actually get into this structure here. Phil's mentioned it's $10 to get in line. Yeah, it's a paid service. It's not a live music review. It's not like a free line and a 5 skip. I mentioned it about 4 times in the form, so you can check that. I don't know how that's failing to mention it. I say it all the time. So maybe in the couple minutes that you've been here, but yeah, it's a paid service. It's not free. It's not free. There's plenty of free spaces. There's plenty of like free like live music reviews and stuff like that. But that's not what I'm doing. Okay, backing up here. I got to focus on Jabronster for a second. Let me get here. Okay, so as you're starting to build up, no pun intended, but like build up right here and introducing a lot of additional energy in the mix right here. Obviously faster snare patterns, build up with your risers, your reverses, these, noise filters and stuff like that, high passing, pitch automation, all of this stuff right now. You're getting a lot of build up in the mids and high mids, a lot of build up right there. It starts to feel a bit abrasive and a bit harsh. I would love for you to soften that just a little bit, especially I hear it a lot in the snare. I hear it in a couple of your risers, and maybe even a little bit in some of your other percussion, maybe high end of the kick and stuff like that. It sounds like potentially maybe on a drum bus, or it could be something also that's happening within your master. Check a couple different stages of your processing, right? If it's on the drum itself, the drum bus, and then your final bus is like, check some of those stages of processing and see if there's any like big high lifts, like high frequency lifts in there. The mids are just really, really forced. You're getting a lot of energy kind of in the middle right there that is resonating in a way that's not really beneficial to the mix. In fact, it makes me want to actually back off of the volume a little bit just because it is so abrasive, especially in a style like this, in a genre like this. And most, heavy electronic music, rock, massive pop records and stuff like that. If there's anything that's standing in the way, of course this goes through, a lot of different genres, but if there's anything standing in the way of people being able to turn up your music without it hurting their ears, whether it's a club, it's a festival, it's a workout, it's in their car, it's chilling to study and work at home, whatever it is, any barriers to that are going to be to the detriment of people enjoying your music and going back to it, sharing it with other people, so on and so on. You don't want to have a song where you come up on a playlist and people turn the music down just because something feels abrasive or feels harsh to listen to. Check your mix between like 1,000 and 3,000 hertz. 1,000 and 3,000 hertz right there. There's again like a bit of unbeneficial resonance. It's ringing a little bit right in there. So check that specifically in your percussion, maybe a couple of the synths as well. The repetition of those hits happening in that frequency are causing this buildup right there that's a little bit harsh. So I would address that just a little bit, soften that a bit. Again, I think most of that's happening between 1,000 and 3,000 hertz, and that's where some of that kind of frustrating ringing is happening. So if you can balance that a little bit, I do think that's going to help soften this mix a little bit while still having really snappy, punchy elements that are, feel vibrant, feel really energetic. Of course, we don't want to like surgically slice this out. I want to take out some of that ringing and some of that frustration right there, and some of the tension right there, and see if we can give you actually some headroom to boost this even farther if you need to. It is a pretty loud master though. If I have a bit of delay and reverb on that snare, would that be causing it? So what it's going to do as well, if you have reverb and delay on there, it's just going to carry that signal into the ambiance, right? So if the snare has a lot of those mids that we're talking about, right? The snare maybe it's just a sample itself. The snare itself has, just a lot of 2,500 hertz in it, and it's very, very forward. There's something that you've done. When you add like a huge hall reverb to that, and then like a stereo delay to that, it's only going to take that signal that has those harsh abrasive frequencies in it and delay it, down the road in the track, right? That 4-second hall reverb is just going to take that frequency and ring it, and it's going to build up more, right? So if you have a snare and it's got, it's carrying that signal a little bit farther as well, and it's carrying it for the next 4 seconds, but the snare is hitting every like 0.5 seconds, you're getting a lot of buildup right there. Right. So if it's hitting every half a second, but the reverb is lasting 4 seconds and you're constantly and you're building up that tension, especially on your transitions into your breakdowns right here, it is going to build up quite a bit. So you might want to shorten those quite a bit. You might want to sidechain that reverb to the snare. So when the snare is hitting, it's ducking it with a fairly fast release in order to kind of get it out of the way of that snare. But when it's only boom, you still get a big open reverb when the snare is a little bit looser, but when it's tight and you're building up, it ducks it out of the way a little bit. There's some things you can do strategically to make room for that reverb to exist. Side chaining it strategically, you got to be tasteful with it, but side chaining it can be one of the ways that you can help, leave some space for that snare to exist. But it also just comes down to, what is that processing? What does that processing actually look like? Do you need to EQ that reverb a little bit? Do you need to filter it slightly? Do you just need to come back on it by 15, 20% on your aux? Like, what do we need to do in order to make sure that there's room for that? And then, step one, going back to source, is making sure that the sound selection itself sounds how you want it to already, right? If the snare is just really resonant and it's got some ringing to it and it's a little bit harsh at the volume that you have it at, then you might just want to do a soft bell curve between like 1,500 and 2,000 hertz to just pull some of that energy back, but still getting kind of that brightness and that snap out of it. So there's a couple different things you can do to kind of rebalance that lightly. But that's obviously up to you stylistically what you want to do and how you want to process that. Yeah, Lucky. Just I was saying a minute ago, Lucky, I've already told you. I think you've come in a couple times. We've already talked through this. But yeah, it's not free. It's not free. Let me see. If you want to submit, go to my pro ICU. If you want to submit, go to my profile, click on the link, and then just read through and follow the details there. Oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Hold on. It left me. There we go. again, there's some great, like, again, there's great sound design. It's punchy, it's nasty, it's dirty, it's distorted, it's like bit crushed. Like, there's a lot of things that I like about this. So my goal is not to like soften this and make it sterile in any way. But what I do want is for you to actually have the space to feel the energy of it without cringing, right? Without pulling back because there's things that are really harsh in the mix, right? I want this loud as hell. You can soft clip it. You can limit it to all hell and compress it and go crazy with it. Make this loud, make it crazy, make it noisy, at the same time as removing some of the distractions from your, and like the, barriers to you pushing this mix a little bit farther. There's just a lot happening, like a lot of those high ends of your bass, like all of those high end frequency elements right there. That's where a lot of that's coming from. It happens in the build up with the snare, obviously, just because there's a lot of energy building up right there. But then even to some of these high elements. So you could do some stuff tastefully on the master to soften some of this, but I'm always a fan of going back into the source and trying not to do too many blanket sweeps that are going to pull energy from other things you don't want to, and making sure that, each of these elements feel, they feel cohesive, they work well together, they're not harsh to listen to, but you can really push the mix in a way that feels very energetic. You two still keen? Torvik, the final boss. I appreciate your idea. Thanks for tapping in over there. Got you, man. Tavo in the building. What's up, Tavo? What's up, man? Thank you for the hat and mustache, man. Thank you. Good to see you, brother. Sounds good. See, right as soon as we start, Tavo with the money gun. Tavo, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Love you. Thank you so much for joining, man. It's an honor anytime we see that name pop up in the chat. Tavo's the OG. Tavo was here like day 2 of ever doing the live stream like 3.5 years ago. For those of you who don't know, Tavo's the family right there. I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you for your generosity. Okay, let me see. And Ethan and Ethan. That's facts. All right, let me see. Let me double check everything's here. Okay. Same thing, you start to hear the snare kicks in, you get a little bit more of that buildup. So we're encountering those same issues every time that they happen. That's where you can address them. Let me get into the outro here. Last thing I want to say on the outro structure here, the thing that I feel like I'm running into, dude, it's crazy, Tavo. It's 3.5 years. It's wild. It's wild. We've been doing these live streams. Crazy. The thing that I'm running to here in the end right here is just, it feels very, again, like the sound design. I like the feel. I like the energy. I like the nastiness. All that's fabulous. I love it. So I might even duck the sample in EQ. Yeah, I mean, yeah, fine. Again, this is all about just like creating space and making sure that there's nothing that's slicing through the mix in a way that's harsh to listen to. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about that. Like, like I said, EQ curves, multi-banding to kind of target that and suppress it a little bit with some compression. There's a lot that you can do to kind of find some ways to mitigate that. Even like a dynamic EQ between, 2,000 and 3,000 hertz or so, where when the snare is just kind of riding and it's a little bit lower, it's fine. But as the snare builds up and there's faster sampling in between, like you're triggering a little bit faster, re-triggering a little bit faster, it starts to build up that frequency. It'll start to duck it down dynamically. Fat filter's great for this. There's some things that you can do, of course, to mitigate those issues, but how you do that's kind of tastefully up to you, to kind of figure out, what makes sense in the song, what makes sense with, in relationship to your other processing and other, production elements, stuff like that. All right, last section here. Last thing we'll talk about over here is just the looping. Here at the end, I'm going to play it a little bit once we get into the last breakdown right here. On this last breakdown right here, it is just very looped. The brain starts to fatigue a little bit from hearing it's hearing that same sample. It bounces around a little bit. It has the same movement, the exact same bass walk down, exact same drum structure. There's like a full 16 bars, if not more, maybe even like 24 or 32 bars, where it's just kind of loosely almost the exact same sound design, exact same structure. Maybe a little break for a second. Maybe you double the snare once in there. Like there's some tiny little changes, but for the most part, you're going to hear almost exactly the same thing going on for like the last 60 seconds of the song. And that high energy, those same frequencies, like that energy right there, it becomes a little bit fatiguing to listen to. And there's no real new information for me to like grab onto to keep me engaged with the rest of the production here. So let's play that real quick. Got you. Right here. change. Ba-dum, ba-dum. Change. Right. So like you get a lot of you get a lot of the same sampling. Now, if you are like you're saying, like if this is going to be a part of a set, if this is going to be in conjunction and in connection with some other records that are following it in a way that this is for a specific way of like tempo matching something else and transitioning to another record in a set, whatever it may be, that all makes complete sense. And then that all kind of adds up, especially with these longer intros. You're coming down to drums, you reduce the synthesis and go down to like bass and drums in order to transition to something else. Completely get it. Completely understand. So if that is the case, lock in and make sure that works, right? If you are still on a normal consumer record of this song, whether this is in a set or not, and it's just released to platforms, keep that in mind. That that same sample repetition is going to be a bit fatiguing. Same exact drum groove with just like a kick transition in between. Same exact do do do. Do, do, do. That same movement every single time down right there, that walk down on like that sub bass and the synth bass, that will just become fatiguing. So keep in mind, I guess my like last tip is this, keep in mind the environment of the listener for, records like this. And you might want specific, versions that you run into set. Exactly. Right. Like, cause like, what I would probably do is have a released version of the song that maybe even just cuts earlier and the song ends and you don't do the extra breakdown at the end, and or you have a different part of the vocal sample that comes in so it's not too repetitive. You add a different synth over the top that sounds nasty and gritty and detuned or whatever it may be on the B section of the outro. Like there's some things we can do to throw a little bit of a wrench in the system there so it doesn't feel too repetitive or too monotonous, right? Like one note at the end, even if it's great notes, even if it's heavy and it's really cool sounding, too much of that same heavy is going to feel fatiguing to listen to. So I think more variation would be really, really powerful, especially at the end of a production like this. And then have maybe like an unreleased version that is the one that you mix in a set. It's the one that you have on the decks, and it's one that you put out for your own ability to like mix this in a set at a festival or a venue or whatever it may be. That to me makes more sense, because I think if it was just like this whole last 60 seconds, it becomes you lose interest just a little ways into it. And so having a set is fine. On a released version, probably want something a little sharper, something a little bit more consistent that people can latch onto, that they can relate to, that feels maybe a little bit more polished to listen to. I think you'll be ready to go. Y'all show some love to Jabronster. Jabronster, I love what you do. I think you're a great producer. Your sound design is always just nasty and heavy and crazy, and I love it. It's noisy in all the right ways. It's busy in all the right ways. It's distorted. It's crushed. There's so much of that I love. So for me, this all comes down to some of the structure of it, right? But also just removing barriers to people cranking this, right? This is not to like make it sterile and suppressed. It's actually to make it so like, how loud can people push this? That's the question I always ask people. Like, how loud are people able to push your mix before it hurts? In this case, I don't even have to have it that loud before I'm like, this is a little brittle. And so it's like just taking some of those issues away, some of those distractions away so you can crank this shit. Y'all show some love to Jabronster. Love and appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the submission. Let's keep it rolling. We got Ethan in the building. Shout out to the family in here. I appreciate y'all so much. Quick reminder, if you would like to submit your music for a consultation like we're doing right now, go to my profile, click on the link, read through and follow all the steps, and we'll get you up on the board ready to go. Aiton's in the building. I see him. We're ready to go. If you are on the purple app, you can type !submit right there in the chat. If you are on the red app, YT, then you can go to the description for the live stream. If you're on TikTok, just go to my profile, click on the link, and then read through and follow all the steps, and we'll get you up on the board. You can always check the line on the other platforms as well. All right, we got 18 in the building. Let me get this pulled up right here. Let's go. All right, smooth dissonance. All right, thank you so much. Hey, I'm reading the email. Thank you, Ethan. I appreciate you so much. On to business. This fucking track has become the bane of my existence. I feel that deeply. Yes, it does, Bronster. This will be episode 92. I'm pretty sure this is the hardest track I've ever made. You'll see there are way more changes from the last submission. I wouldn't be surprised if I've had versions since I last submitted it. You can check the version number on the last submission and see how many versions I've had since then. Let's go. Anyhow, I'm finally fairly comfortable with the composition, at least, although open to suggestions. Next move is to start mixing. Thanks in advance for what you do. I probably won't be able to join until around. Okay, got you, man. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. We got Ethan in the building. This is Smooth Dissonance. So let me see. This is 4.5. Let me see the last Ethan track. Let me just see. I wonder how many we've got here. The last one was 3.7. So we've got a couple we got a couple versions in here. Let's see, where did it go? Here we go. All right, let me get this opened up over here on Dropbox. I've heard this track. Curtis, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. 4.5. It was 45 versions. Okay, so yeah. Wild. So 10, we got 10, 12, 8 to something. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't remember if I said 3.5 or 3.7, but yeah, we've had, 8 versions in between, something like that. Crazy. The song, I'd say it every time. The song's been through the ringer. It's been all over the place. So let's get into it. We'll dissect it. And again, yeah, that makes sense. It's been through it. This is when you're in those phases of like, what do you do? I mean, we talked a little bit about this last time. Like, what do I do? Do I just release a whole EP of different versions and you find out which one clicks, like, oh, actually version 3 crushed. I posted version 7 and went viral or whatever. You do an EP of different versions. It's something that Derek Senna does all the time. An EP with a couple different versions, see what works, and then just like promote that one once you see what clicks. Or you fine tune it down to the one version you really like and you put it forward. But let's dig into it. Curtis, if you want to submit, or anybody would like to, go to my profile, click on the link, read through and follow the details. We'll get you in line ready to go. An EP of versions. It happens. And there's some projects that I'm working on right now in the near future. I haven't even talked to the producers I'm going to be working with, but there's a couple of producers I'm going to be working with where I'm going to release the main song and then be working with like 1 or 2 other producers to produce other remixes of it and then release it as an EP. So there might be this version and this version and this version, but I'll also release it alongside the main version as an EP kind of. And it's also cool because we can get splits across all of those different people, but I don't have to manage productions on the other ones, but they can all get a part of, like, if any of these versions take off or go viral or anything like that, we all get to eat a little bit, you know what I mean? We all get to have a little bit of a piece of that. And it can also just be a way to get different versions of your song structure out there. So yeah, there's some benefit to having some like remixes of your song, do an acoustic version, do a, EDM remix, do a lo-fi remix, a house remix, like whatever. It can be fun. How do you submit stuff? Hashid, if you would like to submit, go to my profile, click on the link, and then just read through and follow the steps there. We'll get you on the board. Sterling, thank you so much for the heart me. I appreciate that a lot. Peter Gabriel did that on his last album, a light mix and a dark. Yep, you'll see it now where someone will release a song. They'll do a sped up higher version. They'll do a slowed reverb version. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes like the slowed reverb version of a song is the part of the song that actually goes viral on TikTok and people listen to that. There are songs out there where the slowed reverb version has 800 million streams. It has like more streams than the actual song. So you never know. I think that's why it's fun. I haven't done a ton of this myself. I've had other people remix my songs before, but it's like it can be fun to kind of try some other versions and just like see what happens. You get to do splits. It gets you in front of another artist. Like if you don't make dubstep and your audience doesn't listen to dubstep, it can be nice to put your vocal or part of your production structure with another artist, right? And have them make a dubstep record. You split a 50-50, you release it out there, you split publishing. If there's a sync placement, you split fees, and you put it into someone else's audience, and maybe they have an audience, or maybe their post about it goes viral, and you both get to eat from that. They didn't have to write the song or structure, they just had to build the production, and you both get to kind of work that way. So it's fun. I want to do a lot more of that this year, if and when I ever have the capacity to work on stuff for myself that's not for other people. But anyways, let's get into it. This is Smooth Dissonance version 47. You heard that right. All right, let's get into it. What's up, Rico? Welcome in. That's another switch up. welcome in. Yeah, new to me. You're like, it's like, I've heard this 50 times. It's just in Dropbox. They just sent me the Dropbox link. You get this kind of like mellotron sample tape pluck from some of those like undertones that you have there. Those are nice. Makes it feel real. You get some like kind of like hammer and movement there, which is good. Okay. Part feels a little disconnected for me right there, stylistically and mix-wise, but can dig into that a little bit. Most of the rest of this, I think, is working pretty well together. It's just going to be mixed stuff, like balancing, mixing, things like that. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Y'all show some love. That is Ethan Music Productions right here in the chat. He's currently looking for vocalists for a lot of his productions. So if you like what you hear, if you like this style of production, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that so much. If you like this style of production, reach out to Ethan. They're looking for vocalists right now. I'm assuming a lot of different kinds of vocalists for a lot of different kinds of productions that he's working on. So definitely reach out to him and connect and see if that would be something that stylistically would fit. But let's run it from the top. Yeah, the 80% of this, even though this has gone through the ringer, 80% of this I think is a lot more cohesive. It works well together. It feels pretty connected. We just need to fine tune some things and create a balance to all of this so it doesn't feel like too loud. I kind of want this to feel a little bit more connected, cohesive. Everything feels a little bit more under the same umbrella. Not like you can hear the sample come in or like you hear a VST start. I want it to feel a little bit more connected. So we can talk a little bit about that part of the mix and dig into that for just a second. And then really quick, is it Mark? Thank you for tapping in. Anybody who would like to submit, you submit through my profile. So just go to my profile, click on the link right there. You'll see one that says submit. Just read through and follow all of the steps there. Check the line on the other platforms if you want to see the line in the order and minimum, stuff like that. You can see where you want to put yourself. You can check that on the other platforms. But yeah, just go to my profile, click on the link, and then just read through it and follow the steps there. All right, let's, okay. Now this bridge right here. I don't, it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. To me, sound selection wise, I felt disconnected from the rest of the production here. That's not always a completely negative thing. There's ways to do that I think really connect. In this case, I think it's kind of like the 12-string guitar kind of chorus that's happening right there. Some of that like rub that's happening. So like that 12-string-ish that comes in here. Has that like, it sounds like a 12 string just because of the chorusing maybe. Some of that like rub right there to me just puts me in a different, but like this almost sounds like an 80s detective movie that coming in. Like I could almost hear like the Lindrum 9080 snare coming in for a second. And this could be like a completely different song, kind of like we've talked about before. It feels a little bit connected or a little bit disconnected to me right here when we shift energy right here. I would love to maybe just even switch out switch out the acoustic guitar maybe for almost like a vinyl, more like classical acoustic, some like muted, felted, like vinyl guitar in there that feels a little softer, a little bit more lower fidelity. It's not as like bright and tinny and open. Like I said, it's like when I think of like a lot of like, I love the 80s. I know you love the 80s, but like when I think of those records, everything was like bright, big stadium, right? And that's where I feel some of that here, from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And if you want a little more of like a darker, warmer, lo-fi feel, which 80% of the rest of the production has, then I would keep an acoustic kind of in that range, right? Something that's like a little more like soft and suppressed, a little warmer, a little darker, maybe filtered a bit. But I think like a nylon string would probably do better than like open steel strings or a 12 string with chorus or whatever it may be. That's something I would at least revisit, look at right there. It just pulls me out a little bit. And then the transition out of it feels more abrupt because then we're back to kind of like lo-fi jazz after that. You know what I mean? It kind of puts us in a different space. Okay. The guitar is literally new from this morning. Haven't had a chance to really work on it. I don't mind what it's doing, right? So we'll go back through it, right? But this little high movement off the D to C at the top end, I don't mind it. So what's happening, I'm not against, but I think it comes down to sound selection, source over everything, and then how you balance that. Okay, let's run it from the top. Let's get into some details here. I don't mind most of this. Piano's a little, because we're going to talk mainly about some of the production leading into the mix now, because I'm going to kind of assume, in my opinion, this is where we just say yes to things and no to things and we move forward so you can mix, right? When you get into 47 revisions and your brain's all over the place, you don't even know what the song is anymore. It's way too overwhelming. So this is where I'm like, okay, keep a lot of what's happening here. That little high melody, I hear that in the early piano as well. So not against that at all. Love it. That's a good callback to a lot of your other kind of like hook of the song. So I think that's great. There's early piano to me. I think it's just the velocity is too high. It's a little sharp. It's a little, it comes in and it's like, it's a little bit more sharp, a little bit more heavy on the velocity. It seems a little bit more forward. I think you could just soften that a little bit, pull back the velocity by like 20, 30 points, softer resampling that'll happen, like a softer sample trigger that'll happen. I think it'll sound warmer. It'll sound easier. A couple little points in that, that'll help soften the mix for most of the song as well. First thing that I kind of heard here as far as like balancing. There we go. Thank you for the follow, Will. That bass is nice. And most of the other movement of the percussion in the background, the hats, the panning there, here's some stick hits in the background. There's some percussion that's happening that I really like. We've heard that before. I'm liking where a lot of that's positioned. I don't mind that. Especially before shaker comes in. That to me feels pretty clean. That little like octave swing that you have right there, like, long portamento bend right there. That right there, I've heard that before in the song. I really like that as well. I think, excuse me, I think I would suggest probably having that with a bit more stereo information on it. I think like a Studio D chorus, or just like a really slowly modulated chorus on there, I think would be nice to kind of put that in. Even if you offset it and bias one side for panning, I think that would be helpful. Right now, it feels everything's very filtered and crunchy and saturated and reverb and then like gated, like has all this texture to it. That feels really, really direct and very dry and very like mono. That's offset, but like very mono and direct. So it could be nice to just split that signal with a little bit of stereo chorus, even just like a stock chorus. Very slow movement and modulation I think would be good. That's why I like notch 1 on the Studio D is great for stuff like this. It gets faster as you move up. Exactly. High synth stereo chorus. Still offset panning if you want to, but it'll just connect it to everything I feel a little bit more. Right now it feels like it's very on its own. It almost has this kind of like theremin vibe to it, which I think is really cool. These slow bends and movements, I like that a lot. I think it's just like connecting it to the production. Again, mostly like taking the production you have. I don't want you to change too much of the production outside of maybe looking at that bridge slightly differently on selection, but most of this I want you to kind of lock in and now just fit it together. Now it's just about how do we position this? How do we connect it to the production? Like you said, moving towards mix. Let's connect this a little bit better and make sure everything's processed well, and you can kind of finalize your mix and master. I don't mind the breakdown here. And like same thing here. Now level wise on the piano, I don't mind it. I can hear it in the background. I think it's what it sounds like to me. Mike, thank you for the follow. What it sounds like to me is like the amplitude is low, volume is low, but velocity is really high. So you're getting a lot of this, right? You're getting a lot of like kind of like the resonance from really high velocity pushes on like an upright piano, right? Like when you have like that kind of like ringing and that modulation right there, you have a lot of that in the background right there, which tells me that the velocity is probably a bit higher, but the volume is low to help it fit in. I think you could probably get away by like splitting that difference and lowering the velocity by, again, 30, 40 points, soften it a little bit so this mix just feels easier, and it's not just quiet things that are doing loud. It's like a snap on the snare, but it's like really far back in the mix. Or you have this like piano that's like full velocity, but it's like far back in the mix. So you're still getting like that tension and that energy. I think it would be nice to just, I think one of the biggest things I would focus on is panning, your stereo field a little bit like we already talked about. But also just getting into the balance between how you push volume versus velocity. Because in this sense, when you're using a lot of VSTs and stuff like that, the velocity is going to determine how it's sampled, right? Like if you have a piano plugin and that piano plugin has, depending on the piano plugin, has 8 stages of resampling, right? Where it's like 0 to 20, 0 to 20 is one sample at different volume ranges. 21 to 40 is another sample at different volume ranges. Depending on how many samples that piano has, it's actually going to completely change the sound of the piano depending on where the velocity is at. Of course, you know this already, but that's why it's important to find the balance between how you set velocity so that the tonal qualities of the piano are what you want, the actual like dynamics of the piano are where you want them, and then adjust loudness. So what I would do is focus on the tone, like we talked about with the guitar earlier. Focus on the actual tone. What's the actual sound that you want to hear? Is it sharp and pointy and resonant and very transient and really cuts through like some of the piano we already have? Or is it soft and warm? And once you find the tone that you want, it's easier to balance in volume, right? Then you just automate the fader, or you mix it accordingly. But focus on the sound first, as opposed to just it being what it is in there, and then feeling like you have to pull back a little bit, right? You have to pull back volume because it's too sharp or something, right? Focus on the actual sample that's being triggered. Focus on the actual velocity range, because it might be that this piano is like perfect set at like 45 out of 127, right? It might be perfect at like 45 to 55 automated in between that, as opposed to it's at like 95, or might be moving between that a little bit, or even 127, and then you have to just turn it down to get the mix that you want. That's part of what I feel like I'm hearing in this mix. There's so many things that I love about it, of your sound selection and stuff like that. But it's like, it sounds like a lot of things are loud, even though they're not necessarily. It's going to be confusing the way I explain this, but it sounds like a lot of things are loud or trying to be loud. They're all like, fairly, stuck at a higher velocity range. And then we have to, are forced to balance them with faders as opposed to softer sample selection. You know what I mean? As far as the velocity that you use. Okay, let's dig it a little bit deeper into. I do want to get into the next section, because the next parts here are fairly consistent. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Like you hear that dun, 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 when you move up a little bit higher right there, that softer sample selection right there makes that piano feel so much more easy to listen to. So those are the little things I want you to dig into just a little bit. And again, this is more like keep everything that's there, now polish, now mold, now, adjust to make it really fit the sound that you want. But I like that piano. I like the filter on it. I like, some of the crunch and crushing that's happening there that I do think sounds really good. That softness is beautiful. Even there, Anon, thank you for the heart. We appreciate it. Even there, I think the kick is pretty rigid in its velocity. I would love a, you know what I mean? Like I would love a little bit of like maybe you tuck, maybe you have like a 40 velocity to 100 velocity, boom. It almost sounds like, again, I'm thinking of a drum. Like I'm thinking of like me playing a kick drum as a drummer, and the way that I would boom, like I would slide into it, maybe double foot right there, and slide into a little bit on the foot to get just an accent, a little bit of like a ghost note before it hits. But I'm not hearing ba ba. I'm hearing ba boom. Like it's got a little bit of a lead in. Most of these kicks right here feel, I know this isn't the whole song. I do think you have some velocity variation in there, but even right here, it feels very boom, boom, boom. I would love to hear kind of a boom, 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 like a little bit of a shift right there that just makes it feel more alive, a little warmer. Not everything is hitting you in the head the whole time, like, but there's some relief from the velocity that we're hearing, if that makes sense. Like right there, boom, boom. It'd be nice here, boom, boom. And you're just getting the main accent hits and you're kind of ghosting underneath that. That's going to feel way more, again, like more real, more actually like low fidelity sampling. It's going to feel more like a natural drum set, even though it's digital. Like it's going to make it feel, I think, a little bit more natural. And for me, more interesting to listen to, because not everything, like, again, not everything is right here in front of your face. It feels like there's things that pull back and they move forward and they get louder, they get quieter, they ebb and flow a little bit more. Some of the things are like the piano's really soft, but then the high synth is really resonant with the chorus on it. It gives you a little bit more life in the mix. I think that'd be nice to hear. I know I'm talking about a lot, but we're getting into the final revisions of, and in this case, revision 48. Gonna get into the weeds of this one. But I think you're at the tail end of a song like this. The Nine Scar, yes, absolutely. If you go to the other platforms that we're live on, the line is up on the screen. So go to Twitch or YouTube, you'll see it up on the screen. You can find them at my link. Even that bum, 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 really like low sampled, like hammer string strike on the bottom right there. I actually really like that. But even that, I think I'm speaking in my perspective. You don't have to even think the same way. And you could keep it as 40. You could turn it up if you want to. For me, that's something I want to like barely hear in the background. You boom, boom, boom. It's just like a little accent in the background that kind of gives you a snap before the kick hits again. It's not something that I'm like feeling and hearing constantly in the mix. Because if I'm feeling and hearing and I'm feeling everything in the mix constantly and everything's forward and everything's loud and everything is like very, very distinct, then the mix can sound kind of pointy and noisy, and you lose that softness that we're talking about of the sample choice, or losing the softness of this low fidelity sound, and things start to sound more direct and more distinct. I hear it over here, 80% pan to the left. I hear the velocity range that it's hitting every time as it resamples the exact same thing. I want it to feel like things are like a little bit more subtle. They're a little bit more nuanced. So little things like that, tiny little things like that. Let's get into the bridge here real quick. Don't mind the piano. So like the C minor to G sharp major, right? So on the C minor to G sharp major, that's where this is, I'm going to pull this down. Let me bypass this really quick. I would love, so I have this upright piano here, right? Oops, don't do that. Thank you for the follow, appreciate it. So what I'm kind of looking for, right? Again, you can hear kind of where the piano cuts in. Let me go ahead and throw, just for the sake of kind of showing you what I'm talking about, what I'm referencing here. We're gonna toss some. Let's pull this down a little bit. Hold on, where are we going here? Let's go really slow. Wow, low rate, low flutter. A little bit closer to what we have here. A little bit more tube breakup. Let's filter it down. Change the filter form. A little bit of bit crushing. So this kind of let's push a little bit more. Yeah, let's go a little bit higher here. A little bit more distortion. Let's filter up a little bit higher. That like warmth here, different. Choose a different piano, do a different, do your version. I'm just throwing this on the earth piano that I have from Roland right now, just kind of giving you an idea. This is more of like what, I'm going to crush this a little bit too, like downsample this a little bit. And you can open this a little bit. Just following the 7th, right? And you get the D sharp major with the 7, C minor carrying the 7 on the top there. That warmth to me just makes it feel more attached to a lot of the other things that you're doing. Do I need more mid-range here? It feels kind of empty, thinking about putting the bass halfway through. Once you find a vocal, yeah, that's true, Rico. Like having a vocal there will help. I think if you take, right now your piano's like starts mid, has a little bit more top end, right? So like it's the same thing with the acoustic. Right? This is bright, tinny, super stereo. Very thin, very bright. Versus here. That warmth, right? It just feels so much like softer. Yo, not hit too. It feels like it's softer, easier to listen to than everything being bright, everything being filtered, everything being a little bit hotter at the top end right there. So that's where I feel like it'd be nice to have some of those warmer elements. You can definitely bring in the bass. That's up to you, right? So like start here and maybe have the follow the 7. Right up there, easy, a little bit warmer, and then bring in just, don't do that, Jesus. Just a low. What's up, John? I got you. Boom, boom, boom. Just even boom, 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 boom. Like a muted, plucky P bass kind of a sound right there. That's like really dry, way in the back. I think it'd be nicer than boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, and then just having the warmth of this, like a little more filtered, right? Boom, 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 boom. Halfway through, you get a little bit more of a buildup right there, so that your transition right now is a little bit harsh. So I'm imagining a world. You don't have to do this. It's your track, right? Yeah, this is an upright. This is an upright from Roland called Earth Piano. You can obviously do this in your version, but what do I imagine is the rest of the song structure we've already talked about, but then having, instead of like a chorused guitar or like a 12-string guitar, you have like a filtered nylon string guitar that feels a little bit more lo-fi, and you have a filtered piano. It's really warm over the top of it. That already helps fill out your mids just by filtering and connecting it to the middle. It's a little darker sounding, right? Right in there with the 7 with the C minor over the top, right? You get a little bit more of that texture. So warmer guitar, warmer piano, maybe lower velocity ranges, add in the bass halfway through, and then that will connect you to this production here. Which is way more, I mean, again, we can adjust velocities here. We can warm up this mix a little bit right here. But that's way warmer, way easier to listen to, way more connected. That's the stuff that I would listen for. Y'all show some love, man. One more revision, man. Maybe, you never know, man. Some songs go crazy. And you just gotta go. This is version 47. This is version 47 on this song. And it's gonna go to 48. But I already love this production, man. I've heard it so many times. I think it's such a great production. I know the pain points that these songs can be. So when you are 40-something versions into a song, sometimes you're like, dude, I don't even know what to do anymore. I think you're there. This is where I would start making printed decisions of like, I'm going to make the piano this way, print it. There it is. Maybe I filter it more after, but I'm going to start locking in some things here and making some decisions where I can at the very least clear tabs in my brain. It's one of the most frustrating parts for me as I'm like producing or I'm like mixing and stuff like that. Like sometimes the fatigue comes from there being endless options always. So if you just start saying like, this is how the bass sounds, I like the bass. Lock it. Lock is a 4-letter word. That's very true. I'm a fan of printing, man. I'm a fan of printing it. And so there's some times where it's just better to be like, hey, when you have endless options always, it can feel impossible to make, decisions. You get decision fatigue like crazy. And then you just don't even know where to go anymore. And then there's so many options. Like you could change this piano to 50,000 other ways, and who knows what the right answer? What's the right way? You know what I mean? Like what do I do? And so that's where I'm like, hey, make 80% of the decisions now. Be like, okay, I'm going to change the velocity on the piano. I'm going to adjust the bass. I'm going to like lock in these drums on the drum bus, and then we're going to print. I'm going to lock it in. I like the way it sounds. I'm going to trust my intuition as a producer, as a musician. I'm going to lock it in. 4-letter word, lock. I'm going to lock it in, and then I'll see what happens with the vocalist. I'll keep these stems active, right? So that I have a save as, so where if a vocalist comes in, we can adjust a couple things as far as like, if I need to carve space in an EQ, that's fine, right? If I need to like change something over here on a bus, that's fine. But I'm going to lock in most of the sounds that I know are what, exactly, right? Like, how dare you tell me to commit to my tracks? And no, I feel the pain. I feel the pain deeply. That's why, to me, it's one of those like necessities where it's like, we gotta lock it in. Sorry, I keep saying lock. I keep saying it, but we got to, Ethan. And once you do that, then you can clear that tab in your brain and move forward, and you'll be so much more, easy going into the next part. All right, y'all show some love, man. Show some love to Ethan. I appreciate it so much. Devo, welcome in. I appreciate it. Absolutely, Chris, 100%, all the time. Almost every day. I appreciate you so much, man. Love what you do. I think you're absolutely fantastic, man. This is well on its way, man. You're right at the edge of this. We just got a couple little tweaks here. You'll be ready to go. Yeah, if anybody would like to submit, I got like 4 songs left, 3 or 4 songs left, probably 4, maybe. If you want to submit your music, you can go to my profile, click on the link, and then you'll be able to read through and follow the details there. Again, go to my profile, click on the link, read through and follow the details. If the link is not working for you, it is a regional issue. So then all you have to do is go to my Instagram, same name, go to my Instagram and find the link there. For whatever reason, in certain regions, I don't know why, the link doesn't work, or you can't see it, or it doesn't open. That's usually just due to a regional thing. So just find it on another platform. You'll be ready to go. Just read through and follow all the details. You can check the line on the Red or Purple app, but you can find on my link as well. We're live on those platforms as well. If you are on the Purple app and you would like to submit, type !submit in the chat. If you're on the Red app, you can go to the description for the live stream. We got John in the building. Let me update a few things here. Let me know who Michael is. Michael, let me know where you're at. Rico, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for tapping in, man. It's good to see you again. I saw you in here yesterday as well. I appreciate that. Let me see. Let me get John. John, I got you right here. Boom, you're ready to go. You're up on the board. You're locked in. I should have your email from the other day as well. And let me see a couple things here. And let me know if y'all see Michael. Let me know. But I got like $1 randomly, so I want to make sure that I get you in the right spot. I want to make sure that if your name is Michael, I want to make sure that you read through all of the steps. That you start at the top and you read through. That way you know exactly what you need to do. Zane's in the building. What's up, Zane? And we can get you in line along with everyone else. All right, let's run it. Let's run it. We're gonna keep it rolling here. We've got John in the building. John, just let me know that you're currently here in the chat. Just I don't want to make sure you haven't jumped out again. Let's get your email from the other day pulled up here. Dark Lords, welcome in. I think this is the right one. Let's see. Is it the closing track, John? Is that it? I want to make sure it's the right John they got in here too. Closing track for the album. Is that it? Meant to emulate climbing a snowy mountain. Gorgeous, beautiful, love it. Let me know if I'm thinking of the right thing. Beautiful. Okay. Getting to the peak and realizing how small and simple the other mountains look. Let's go. Nathan, welcome in. I appreciate y'all being here. If y'all are on TikTok, do me a huge favor. Tap the screen, share out the live, and don't forget to send your heart. He does help out the stream quite a bit. We got it right here. This is Isle of Salmon. And this is called Visiting Grains of Sand. Let's get into it. I think that's, Visiting Grains of Sand should be okay, beautiful. Yeah, Visiting Grains of Sand by Isle of Salmon. Let's run it. I'm excited. And also just really quick too, I mentioned this earlier, but for everyone, John, obviously I've heard your stuff before, but remind everybody the role that you play in your music, and same with me, because things change. Sometimes people self-produce, sometimes they're working with different studios and session musicians, and it moves here just a little bit all over the place. So I want to make sure that I and anyone else in the chat who's interested has an update on what you do in the structure of your music, the role that you specifically play in creating the sounds that we're hearing. Here too came by to subscribe. Thank you so much, Rico. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for stopping by. Had to pull out the sax for this. Oh, I'm all in. I'm all in. I might wait. Do you play sax? We maybe have talked about this. I'm gonna have some projects probably later this year that I might need some saxophone on. So I might, if you do, I might have to keep you in my back pocket. All right, this is Visiting Grades of Sand by Isle of Salmon. Let's run it. Let's run it. Let's run it. Got you, Ethan. I got you. I got you. Yeah, no worries. Keep in mind it goes by fives, Ethan. If I went by ones, it would just be two. I would spend the whole time doing dollar by dollar. So I have you at a 15 right now. Just let me know if you want to update that. We got about 3 tracks left, so I am updating the minimum, so just keep an eye out on the other apps. I love this sound design. I feel that, John. I feel that. This feels like August Rush or something. Really interesting sound design. This all feels like very modular, which I really like. Very granular. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Sampling reverses. What are you tracking all of this on? A lot of this feels very hands-on. Super interesting. All Ableton. Ableton in the basement. That's the vibes. That's the vibes. Let's go. Love the Foley too. So interesting. Absolutely, Trey. 100%. Seriously, Ethan. Welcome in, y'all. Appreciate y'all being here. little humming in the background. There's a lot of little textural things in here that are really nice. Great for scores. Super interesting. The ring right there. Tons of space. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Y'all show some love. Show some love, show some love. That is Isle of Salmon. The song is called Visiting Grains of Sand. That song is out on all platforms. So if you like what you hear, go stream Visiting Grains of Sand. It's on all platforms. Go stream it, go like it, go add it to your playlist. Go run up the numbers, go follow them on Spotify and other DSPs. Follow them here on TikTok. You'll see John Salmon. John Salmon right here in the chat. He just popped up. Hop in the chat, man. Let people know where they can find you. Beautifully, beautifully done. Let's chop through a couple things. This is less about, this is such a work of art as far as composition goes and dynamics go. There's John right there in the chat. Show him some love and support. This is less about what's mixed a certain way, and more about how you're building this composition. I think is really interesting. It's what I want to point people to. It's really, really beautifully done. Yeah, if anyone wants to submit, the queue is over on the line, is over on the other platforms that we're live on. So if you go to Twitch or YouTube, you can see it. You can see us over there. You can find those at my link. We're live over there right now, and you can see the line up on the screen. You can see how many tracks that we have left. You can see the minimums at the time, so pay attention to that, just because that is determined by how many songs I have time to listen to. That way people don't submit and I know I can't hear them. I want to try to get through as many people that are in the line as possible. And you can see kind of who's in line if you want to go faster or go slower, stuff like that. But if you want to submit, everything's at my profile. Just click on the link and then read through and follow the details there. We'll get you up on the board ready to go. But let's run it, man. Let's run it. Let's run it. This is let's run it from the top. This is Visiting Grains of Sand by Isle of Salmon. I love this, man. It's so interesting. It's so engaging to listen to. There's so much nuance. There's so much color and texture. It feels crunchy. You know, it feels like you can taste it. It's good. I like it a lot, man. It's really, really cool sound design choices. Really, really interesting structure. This is not a pop record, right? This is an experience of sonics. It is not something that is meant to be. Is not something that is meant to just be vocalized, right? This is something that is meant to be experienced. This is something that could be scored. This is something that could be placed. This is beautiful for stuff like that. It's really, really well done. This is the kind of song also that I could see doing really, really well with scenic videographers and cinematographers. There's people that do demos for high-end cinema cameras and stuff like that, and they'll post videos for Sony Alpha and the Canon and stuff like that. Red, Komodos, and some of those formats there, and even some of the higher end stuff, and they do an amazing job of just syncing stuff like this. So it would be really interesting. This is something I could see if there was footage of footage of islands, or they did some really, really cool work for a company, or they're doing some cinema work. I think this is the stuff that would do really well. I mean, I would cold email 500 cinematographers and see what could happen. Yeah, I got you up there, idea. That just means that if well, let me see, hold on. What names do I have on there right now? Is it not updating? Wait, where is your day? Where is your name? Kirsten, Ethan, Once Lost. Bad idea. Did I not get your name up there? Hold on, I thought I did. Did I put it under a different name? Hold on. Ethan. Sorry, let me just double check really quick. So that's Eric, and that's you. I thought I had it up there. Okay, hold on. No, yeah, I do. Your name is in front of last, once lost. Sorry. Yeah, I was like, dude, I could have sworn I even acknowledged it when you did it, and I was like, hold on. I got you. Yeah. So technically you're in this spot. I think I had a different name updated on there for some reason. Just going through really quick and double checking. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, line is current now. Okay, let's run it from the top. Let's get into some of the details here. But yeah, this is beautiful. Let's run it. We got 3 more songs, y'all. 3 more songs. So just keep your eye on the board. Keep your eye on where things are at. See how many songs are left. See where you are within those songs. If you want to move forward, you can. There's no pressure to. We'll be live again tomorrow. Hopefully ideally a longer live tomorrow. So we will be live. So definitely, you can make sure that you are tapped in tomorrow as well. T-Dot, welcome in. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, Will, they're paid consultations. It's not like a free music review or anything like that. Okay, let's keep an eye out on the board. You can still submit. Just keep an eye on the minimums, how many songs we have left and where you're positioned. If you're not one of those last ones, we'll always make sure that you're saved. We'll never listen without you. In fact, if you are saved, we will boost you next time. That's what happened to Kirsten. Kirsten had 10. She got saved. We added 5 to it. Now she's at the top of the list, currently speaking. So that's always way we want to make sure that if you are saved, if you have to wait another day to get heard, then I always want to make sure that we're giving you a little bit of support as well. All right, let's run it. So much texture. It does feel very organic. I think Dan said it, like very, very natural and organic. I like it. Spacious, great ambiance. Every once in a while, so there's some parts in here where I wish the buildup of movement here was supported by and again, this is also personal preference. There's no rules to this, right? There's some times where I wish that it was supported by a more consistent, even if it's crazy and noisy and chaotic and ethereal and it's got all this texture and movement, supported by a more consistent underline, like a more consistent bass note that kind of supported it and gave it some context, gave it some weight. Just because all of the pads are moving. What's up, Yeehaw? Welcome in. The pads are moving, the lower acoustic guitars are moving constantly, the lead kind of textures are moving all the time. So that's where I'm like, there's a part of me that wishes that like underneath that, we had this like warm element to follow that felt more consistent, a little bit more grounded, even just for like 10 seconds. It literally, like, you can go back to all the crazy and float around a whole bunch and it feels ethereal and it feels open. It feels like there's all this movement. And then it just kind of just like settles you for a second with this like a sub bass or like a low rolling pad for like 12 seconds, like 2 measures here that just takes you from like the 4 major to the 6 minor, and then it leaves and it goes back to floating. But it kind of gives you some like context, some grounding to where it doesn't always feel like it's floating around so much. There's a couple times in this intro where like I kind of just wish I had that low element in there. Not necessary. Obviously, it's up to what you're trying to do stylistically and stuff like that. But I do think a couple moments of grounding would make this feel even more palatable. It would make it feel like, man, this is so textural. It's so organic. There's so much movement, but it also feels like really inviting it's not just chaos. It also feels like warm and inviting to listen to because there's like a couple little grounding elements that happen occasionally of just hitting like the low minor every once in a while or something like that. I'm going to back it up here actually just a little bit here. I love that it floats. I love that it moves. I love that it's a little chaotic. I don't mind it. Even there, right? kind of floats away a little bit again there, and it kind of moves that bass note a little bit. But even just having it, just that, like it's moving all over the place. And it just gives you like a little bit of a ground, and it floats away a whole bunch. And then you just have, and then it floats away and it's kind of going crazy. And maybe you do that chord twice, and it floats away and it's going crazy, and all the textures are there, and the acoustic guitar is going crazy, and you hear all of like the increase and decay and feedback on the delays one more time through the minor, and it's dark and even more filtered than this, and then it leaves. Everything leaves and you go crazy again. It kind of goes, you know what I mean? Like it gives you, and actually I'll do one more thing just for the sake of walking through it. One more thing, I'll add a sub just so you can kind of hear what I'm talking about on this end too. Let's see, where's my synth bass is, and we'll go subsonic 2. And here. So just for the sake of adding texture, I want to go here. And oh wait, I gotta add it here. Boom. I'm looking at too many different screens here. This is low, so I'm gonna cut this off. That's crazy sounding. To the A minor, right? So, is it Andermere's? Actually, most people send in unreleased songs. So there's no pressure to have something complete or remixed or completely mixed or completely polished. I would say probably 90% of people send in unreleased stuff specifically to the stream as kind of a final step before going to distribution, before going to their engineer and finalizing production and stuff like that. Just because most of what we talk about here is production structure, early songwriting structure, formatting. We're talking about like mix details before we get to that point to make sure what you're structuring makes sense in the mix, stuff like that. So people do, like, this song is released in particular, but a lot of people send in unreleased stuff. Yeah, hardcore is fine. I mean, I listen to a lot of different music. So I can't listen to everything all the time, and so for that reason, I don't know if I know a ton about like that space in particular, or have an affinity towards it just because it's not something I listen to a lot. But I love also anything from screamo all the way to opera and pop and hip hop and country and synth wave all the way across the board. I like a lot of different styles of music, and we have a couple really cool hardstyle artists and producers that have come through here as well. Okay, so here's like when we're looking at this B, right? Here's the low F here, and then pushing up to the A minor, right? So underneath this is all I'm gonna do. I'm just cutting this down a lot. So we're taking out some of that high end, and then we'll cut it back. This is kind of what I'm listening for here as this starts to build up a little bit. It changes too much right there. So that's, the notes are changing too much there to give it context, but it's the idea of having this, just this low sub, even warmer than this with a little bit of modulation to it, a little bit of movement to it, just following like the F to A minor at the same time as having this low, this is following underneath it. That's just warm and fuzzy underneath the whole thing, while all of this other craziness is happening over the top of it. But if there was like two elements, this I'll be changing the Bandcamp version. Let's go, John. I would love to hear what that does, and then polishing some of the movement of the guitar underneath it to support that, so they're not stepping on each other's toes. Because if you just do that to what's exactly here, it'll just be muddy, right? It'll actually be like just really weird and interesting underneath, right? If you have this plus the guitar changing notes plus the sub bass walking up with the piano plus all of these different elements right here, it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to make it very frustrating to listen to. But if you warm it up and you have like the sub bass, you have the piano structure underneath it, following like the 4/5 into the 6 minor or something like that, maybe with the 7th still, then you'll have all of this texture that feels very warm, very stable, very grounded. And then on top of that, you can add some of these other elements that are, a little bit more interesting and stuff like that. Enemies, you can look me up on Spotify if you want to, just for like my personal stuff. You can. There's a bunch of other artists that I'm working with right now, but you can always go check out Paper Planes, check out I'm Gone, check out, or just go to my Go to I don't really promote my music, but you can. All of this, everything that I do is produced by myself. But yeah, just look up Torvik on Spotify or wherever you listen to music, and you'll see a bunch of different stuff there, and you can check it out there as well. Yeah, of course. Okay, so but yeah, that is what I do full time. All right, let me back it up here and let's get into this. Actually, like the outro here, because most of this is beautiful and has really interesting texture and really interesting, dynamics and stuff like that. But that was one of the things that I felt like I was missing. Is like if it's all float away and it's all up here in the clouds and kind of bouncing around all of the time and there's nothing to ground it, then you lose like the security of it a little bit because there's no progression, there's no grounding, time signature, or even loosely so, even if it's not like clicked or like to the grid and quantized, like there's nothing to kind of ground it. So it would be nice to have elements of that, just a little piano at the bottom, a 4 to a 6, like little piano at the bottom or whatever it is, a sub bass every once in a while, then you leave it and you go back to floating around. A little bit of that, I think, goes a long ways to this feeling not only crazy and ethereal and interesting and all of the fun stuff that it already is, but also warm and natural and easy to listen to. Because if the brain's working too hard to listen, you'll check out. Love these dynamics here, though. There's a lot of space. Like I said, it's great for film. Love the texture here too. And that's a key change too, because now this is over the G sharp major, right? Like now you have all this. Right now you have like a completely different texture over the G sharp minor right there. So that's what I want you to keep in mind. I love the aesthetic of what's happening here. But keep in mind that not only does it not have the foundation, you're also then like changing keys, like changing root note, changing keys and moving over like a different part of the structure. That's going to be challenging to follow. So do all of those things because they're interesting and then connect them somehow. Make sure there's a little bit more of a thread. And then the fade there. Y'all show some love to John. John, I love what you do, man. I love what you do. I think you're a very just intriguing composer. You're a good producer. You understand dynamics in a way that I think is really fascinating. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. So that's the only thing that I'm looking for is the balancing act between so much interest, so many twists and turns and plot twists in the music that it's hard to follow the story again. And then still having some elements that are like, oh yeah, I'm here, I'm home. This feels like grounded and safe and stable, but then also is still kind of crazy and ethereal and interesting. I think there's a really fine line between those two things. And you can go too safe to where it's sterile, and then you can go the other direction where it's too chaotic. There, I think a little bit of it, and you can bias between those two different, depending on the song and depending on what you're trying to do. But I think a little bit of that, balance, I do think is important to it being a bit more palatable for people to listen to. But I do love what you do. I think it's so interesting. And I think it's really, really engaging to listen to, even as is. So y'all, please show some love. That is Isle of Salmon. John Salmon in the chat. I appreciate you so much, man. Brandon, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that a lot. The song is called Visiting Grains of Sand. It is out on all platforms. Go stream it, go like it, go add it to your playlist, go follow on Spotify, all that good stuff. Man, we love and appreciate you. Thank you so much for sending that in. If y'all would like to submit your music, you can. We only got 3 songs left. And then we're out of here. Or maybe 2, actually, to be honest. Let me see where we're at. I think it might actually be 2. Let me see, because I was only doing 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, so 6 today. So yeah, sorry, I gotta keep up. 2 songs left. 2 songs left. Let me double check a few things here really quick. If you want to submit, you still can. I will be closing the line after this next one. So after this next one, we'll close the line. If you are in the line, you will still be in the line and you can move around. Some people leave, some people come back, so on and so on. And so that, it'll move around a little bit. Like I said before, if you do get saved, if you don't get heard today, you will always be saved to my list. You'll never miss out on your breakdown or your consultation. You'll never miss out on your credit. We'll always make sure that you are here for your breakdown. So you never have to worry about not getting hurt in any way. In fact, if you do get saved at the end of the live, whether you had to leave or have to get off at the end, I will actually always add to your credit in order to make sure you get a boost next time. So it's more likely that you're hurt every time that you come in. I'll always make sure that y'all have some level of support, especially if the line gets crazy or whatever it may be. Of course, John, I appreciate you so much. Kirsten, let me know if you're here. Yeah, if y'all want to submit, go to my profile, click on the link, just read through and follow the steps here. So I'm updating the minimums now to make sure that it's reflected on the amount of tracks that we have left. So just make sure that you keep an eye out on what we have. There's Kirsten in the building. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to get you that extra 5 because now we have a little bit of extra wiggle room here. So let me pull you up from the other day. Let me see. Okay, this is Kirsten McBride. I accidentally sent it. Okay, that was the 2 different platforms. Song completely, artist name here. We got it on Spotify as well. This is another release track. Same as the other tracks. Give me all. Oops, hold up. We're moving and grooving. Give me all of the details. I would love to know the role that you play in your music. Would love to know, as far as what I'm listening to here, what part do you play in creating it? Whether that's just vocals, it's working on the production, it's going to studios, working with session musicians. Give me the whole spiel, or YouTube beats. Doesn't matter to me. Give me the spiel. Talk to me about what you do. And let's get into it. This is completely by Kirsten McBride. Just came out this year, so let's get into it. Welcome in.
Been waiting to have someone to hold, someone that I can love both. Now that I found you, I'm gonna love you.
Nice.
Completely, don't have to work.
Are you tracking at home?
If I fall for you every day,
Cool voice.
I don't have to hold back or be afraid. This is ours, a promise made. Now that I found you,
Cool.
I'm gonna love you completely. And when I met you,
A little 6/8 push here. That's interesting. Little time signature change.
everything you'd mean to me. Now that I found you, I'm gonna
The triplets?
love you
Interesting.
completely. I do to have to hold, for better, for worse, completely in sickness and in health. Now that I found you, I'm gonna love completely. Don't have to worry if I fall for you every day. I don't have to hold back or be afraid. This is ours, a promise made. Now that I found you, I'm gonna love you completely.
Those accent changes are really interesting. I like that. Y'all show some love, show some love, show some love. That is Kirsten McBride. Let's dive in. Laurel, thank you so much for tapping in. Justin, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Mortal, welcome into the stream. Thank y'all for joining. We actually only have one song left, so I am going to be closing the line. We have one more song after this. But thank you so much for tapping in, y'all. If you want to submit, I will be live again tomorrow. So I would love for y'all to tap in. We'll love to hear the music that y'all are working on. We spend about 20 to 30 minutes per song. These are deep, they're long, they're nuanced, they're detailed. We're doing a full consultation for every artist that comes in here. So if you want to submit, I definitely would love to hear what you're working on, but it'll have to be tomorrow. We'll close it up after the last song. Tomorrow we'll be back afternoon, I believe. I think I have a call later that evening, maybe later. So yeah, probably the normal 2 or 3 p.m. Central. I'm assuming. Something around that. Okay, let's run at those. Y'all show some love to Kirsten McBride. Let's dive in. And of course, I'll give you all a boost for those of y'all that are saved as well. Let me go ahead and close up here. So give me just 1 second to boom, boom, boom. Do the stuff. Boom, boom, boom. close it over here. I think as of current, of course, this can change because people skip and people move around, but currently I believe it's Ethan. I believe Ethan is closing us up today. Okay, let's run it from the top. Let's get into it. That is completely by Kirsten McBride. It is out on all platforms. So if you like what you hear, if you enjoyed that track, it is actually released on all platforms. So you can go stream it, go like it, go add it to your playlist, go follow on Spotify. Of course, follow here on social media, so on and so on. You can see Kirsten McBride, just a couple chats up right there. Make sure that you follow that artist, any artist that is vulnerable enough to get on the stage and put themselves out there to the world, especially on a random stream on social media. Show them some love and support. Joseph, thank you for the bubble gums. Thank you. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. It means a lot, man. I hope you're doing fantastic today. I know you're running around like crazy. But let's run it. Let's run it from the top and let's get into the song. I really like your voice. I like it a lot. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. That's why we're live earlier today. We're getting off earlier today because we got other things to do. We got other things to do this afternoon that are not work related. Thank God. We've been working far too much. All right, let's get it. Let's run it from the top. I love a lot about what's going on here, and I have a couple little notes that I think would just be interesting to kind of dive into. But let's get it.
I've been waiting to have someone to hold.
I'm gonna back it up here. Hold on one second. Let me listen in for something here.
And I've been waiting to have someone to hold. Someone that I can love. Now that I found you, I'm gonna love you.
Okay, so a couple little things here. Now, some of what I'll talk about is stylistic, right? So it's if it's not the vision for the song, then I don't want to I don't want to step on that, right? And again, the song's also already out. There's a couple things in here just from a balancing standpoint that to me feel a little bit out of sorts. One is really good clarity. I mean, the double track guitar I think is beautiful. It's good tone on the guitar as well. Clear riff, clear understanding of both sides right there. It's very, very well processed, good tracking as well. Is it Region and Skid Heel? Thank you for the follows. I really appreciate that. The openness right there, I think, is beautiful. There's a pretty good drum structure here, but when you move into this hook coming from the verse where you have like brushes and acrostic, everything's very dead. It's very muted. These are like really tight drums, low tuning, really, it's like on my drum set back here, I use those, they're called big fat snare heads, but they're these like cloth covers for the drums. It keeps it all really like dry and dead. Probably one of the most popular examples of that is a lot of Jake Reed's packs and stuff like that. That's what I use a lot of times when I'm going for this kind of 60s really dead muted drum sound, and you have some of that in here as well that I really, really like. I would love for it to feel like it opens up a little bit more going into the hook. It still feels really kind of restricted. That's where I would love maybe like a beaded shaker or a tambourine or something right now on this first hook. The vocal opens up a little bit, so you hear some harmonies come in and it does feel maybe a little bit more vibrant, but it feels like the intensity increases for everything but the percussion. So all of a sudden the guitars come in, dun, 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 dun. Like that comes in with a lot of strength. The bass is doing its thing. The vocal harmonies expand. So all of that feels like it's pushing for more intensity and more dynamics, but the drums feel really restricted because there's nothing to open up the top end on. It would be nice to have like a beaded shaker would be great. Or even a tambourine with a slap, like a little bit of movement with like some 16th notes right over the drums to give it that little bit of lift right over the top. Because I guess the thing that I'm feeling is like it halfway builds up. It kind of halfway goes there where like the guitars build up, the bass is in, the vocals are strong, and then the drums are kind of still in the verse. Is kind of how it feels. Like the drums are still only brushes and open snare. So on the percussion side, the only thing that changes, which does help, but the only thing that changes is the cross stick moves, got gnats in here. Sorry, there's the cross stick moves to an open snare. That helps, but you're still missing some intention. You're still missing some like intensity and tension going into the hook. So that's one thing I think that would be nice. So like from here.
Now that I found.
Great voice, by the way. Awesome.
Now that I found you, I'm gonna love you.
Like this, A little like, I think an open tambourine would be really like, just a little bit of openness right there. I think it would be nice because again, it still feel it's like a P bass muted, like a muted bass right there. So that's a little restricted. The drums are then restricted by not having the top end. So quick note, the song's released. So I guess what I'm speaking to is like in the future, make sure that all of your dynamics kind of align. So if we're going to add intensity to a double track guitar, thank you for the heartbeat retrack, good to see you. If you're going to add like a double track to the electric guitar, we're going to add more intensity behind the vocal structure. We're going to add third note harmonies and choral effects and stuff like that, that all of the instruments match that intensity. So there's a distinct move from this dynamic to the next. Also because you break, side note there. Also because you have a measure break, 1, 2, da 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 boom, and then it hits in. You have this big change in dynamics from letting off the gas to then going a little stronger, and that's not really like respected by the increase in tension. It's like we break so that it feels more intense, but then we don't, actually offer that release on the other side. So that's small little note there. Okay, let's keep it going. But I really like your songwriting. I like your vocal structure. I think the harmonies are beautiful. There's a lot of amazing vocal layers in here that are pretty fantastic. But that's kind of some of those little background little elements that I'm talking about here.
I don't have to worry if I fall for you every day.
Again, great double track. You have more of a low chordal rhythm section on the left that is double tracked with more of the like clean, like Stratocaster, like Fender lead element, just with the single notes following the bass movements. Those doubles right there, they're two distinct doubles, but they make the mix on the guitar feel really wide. They complement what the bass is doing. That all works really well. That all works really beautifully, and I think it tracks well. So again, there's a lot of what I'm hearing in this song that I think sounds fantastic.
I don't have to hold
Good riffs.
back or be afraid. This is ours. A promise made now that I found you.
I also would love, again, stones. All I want to do is get your reel spinning. And so when you're taking on your next records, you're like, yeah, maybe this whole thing would do. I would love some accent. This happens with your ad libs, and it happens with the choir stuff, which I believe is your vocal in the background. You do a great job of those layers. In tandem to the layers that you do as ad libs and as support, I would still love harmonies on your vocal, at least as accents. That might happen a little bit later on in the song, but in these earlier sections right here, and then now that I found you, like on those early melodies right there, on those first melodies right there, I would love to hear the like right there on those lead-in lines, right?
A promise made now that I found
So on the now that I found you, like on the third note harmony right there, at least as an accent, you could double track that. Because right now, I guess what I hear is your accent vocals are fantastic. Okay, so these choir elements, these harmonies on the outside, beautiful. The oohs and ahs and all those layers, fabulous. I love it. Nothing wrong with that at all. The actual vocal itself is still kind of stuck in mono, kind of alone in the middle of the mix without support for the melody, right? So you have accents that come in and support that comes in, but the melody itself, for the most part, is kind of sitting in its own through the verses all the way through the hook. And so I would love to have, doubles of that vocal. They might be there. They might just be back in the mix. I would love like third note harmonies, at least on like your first lines. Now that I found you. It would be nice to open that up a little bit. And then maybe go back to a solo vocal, little harmony structures there that are on the melody, as opposed to just accents and ad libs, I think would be really nice as well. Again, most of this I think is really, really fun. You're doing a great job, especially with how you said like limited your releases have been so far. Like you're very early on. I think you're doing a great job. You have great intuition for your melodies. The texture, the character, timbre of your vocal, I think is really engaging to listen to. It feels unique. It feels special. It feels very much your own. So there's a lot of that I love. A lot of that I love. Good lead lines. Let's move over here.
And in health.
Hold on, I gotta do my puzzle.
Now that I found you, I'm gonna love.
There we go. This is the open ride. The open dry. You get the open dry ride right there. That gives you some of what I was talking about before. You hear how it increases the energy and the pacing. The slower version of that is accented tambourine. So right now it's dry. You hear a lot of that. That works in this last hook. If you complement that by early on doing and then later on, sorry for the drum noises, that gives you a little bit of that feel. It just increases the tension a little bit early on so it doesn't feel too drawn back. Okay. This is great for an early record. Thank you for the gifts, Retrack. Thank you for the Go Popular. I appreciate you. Again, right here, be afraid. You have all the stuff in the background. That's great, right? Beautiful layers, great choral effects. They're wide, they're open. I love it. But the vocal itself, I don't think has really any support in the mix. So that's like one of the things I'm like, I wish we had some harmonies on the vocal line there, actually off of the lead melody. It would just open it up. It would open it up quite a bit. It would give it some support. It would allow it to compete in a really like prominent, pretty dry mix on the production, like between the drums, guitars, bass, and stuff like that, where they're heavy. They're doing a lot of work. They're very punchy sounding, especially now that the ride is in there. And then that vocal has to compete with all that, and it's one signal versus 8 mics on a drum set, double tracked electric guitars, a bass, maybe a pad in the background, some strings, and a choir of 8 layers, 12 layers of your vocal, and one vocal to carry the lead melody. That's where layering that vocal, not just supporting it, right, but layering the actual vocal will give it a little bit more emphasis because it's got to compete against. It's like, I mean, that's what happens with a lot of people's lead vocals. I've got 70 tracks. One of them is the lead vocal, and that has to compete with everything. So it's got to have its own space in the mix. It's got to have, its own energy. It has to stay prominent. It has to stay at the forefront. It's got to be legible, to some extent, depending on the style. But it's like, that's hard to compete with. So it can be helpful to just have like one double, a double on each side of the vocal back in the mix a little bit, maybe a harmony that's double tracked on each side. So there's at least like 5 of you, or, 2 to 5 of you competing with double track guitars and all the other stuff there.
Promise me now that I found you, I'm gonna love you completely.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Y'all show some love. That is one of the early records from Kirsten. That's completely by Kirsten McBride. Just came out this year. I think you're awesome. I think you have so much potential. The bones of this are awesome. The producer you're working with is great as well. Like I said, great tone, great texture. I'm really liking like the guitar choices, a lot of the percussion choices. Not a bad mix in any way as well. It's very natural, very warm. Some things could be polished maybe. But I'm not mad at the direction that you're going at all. I think you're doing a lot of things right, especially from the song standpoint. You have good songwriting, good structure, and that to me matters more than the mix, more than anything. The song itself as a foundation, I think, is fantastic. So y'all, please show some love. Show some love to Kirsten McBride. Thank you for your patience again as well. I appreciate you, hanging out for another day as well and getting your song heard. I appreciate that a lot. Y'all show some love. Make sure you go stream the song. It is out. Go show it some love and support, as well as make sure that you follow Kirsten here on platforms as well. Let's get into our last song, and then I am out of here. This is our last one for the day. We got Ethan in the building. Ethan, hop in the chat. We got Ethan Rink, I believe, here in the chat. And this is going to be the last one that we hear today. So let me just pull up the email. Let me see where I've got it on here. There's Ethan. Of course. Thank you so much to be here. Reagan, we are closed for today. This is our last song. But if you would like to submit, we will be live again tomorrow. So definitely make sure y'all are following. Make sure that you have notifications turned on. We will most likely be live. What's going on here? We'll most likely be live probably 2 or 3 p.m. tomorrow if I were to use my imagination. Okay, let's get into it. Let me pull it up here. Let me see. There's Ethan. I'm in the final phase of mixing this. Would love input on anything, but especially the mix. Sounds good. Okay, Ethan, talk to me about the song. Have I heard your music before? The name sounds familiar, but I get confused with the names all the time because I see a lot of them. The name sounds super familiar, so I'm curious if I've heard your music before. If not, give me all the deets. Talk to me about the production. Talk to me about the role that you play in your music. Talk to me about the role and what you're doing here. And let's get this pulled up here. Let me get this downloaded. I'm going to butcher the name of the song too. That'll be fun, but let me get this downloaded. Cataware Doki. I want to make sure I say I'm factually butchering the name of the song, but I do want to get it right. Kataware Doki. I know that's not right. Correct me. Tell me how to say it. But let's get it. This is Ethan Rink right here in the chat. Right here in the chat. Let's run it. Beautiful. Awesome. 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 Good voice. Cool chord. Nice.
I can't remember. Open my mind, see what's inside. Can't run, can't hide. Closer to me, closer to you. Give me a sign, tell me if I still know your name.
Some awesome producers and artists here. Love the atmosphere. Very cool. Absolutely. You have this like edge of like 90s shoegaze in there a little bit, slowed down, reverberated. I like it. Tomorrow. We'll be back on tomorrow about 2 or 3 p.m. Central. Yeah, last song. Y'all show some love, show some love, show some love. That is April Steele. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that a lot. That is Ethan Rink right here in the chat. Let's dive into it. There's a lot that I like. I mean, I've been saying this a lot today, but man, I mean it. There's a lot that I like about this. A lot of it that I like. It's atmospheric. There's so much like just space and ambiance. I really, really like what I'm hearing. You have a great voice as well. You have a good distinct hook as far as a lot of those melodies that you have. I think as a melodicist, you're doing a fantastic job. There's a couple little like mixing things that I want to find a balance, kind of like we were talking about with the previous artist. I want to find a balance between atmosphere and mud. Welcome back, Jenna. I want to find a balance between atmosphere and mud because I want all the space, I want all the openness, but I don't want too many collisions that take away from the separation and distinction between the different things that are happening here, where like the bass gets muddy with the guitar, these big washy, modulated pads get really muddy, and they're kind of blending with these huge reverbs and ping pong delays and stuff like that. There's a lot kind of happening in there that I want to find a slightly better cohesion with. But at the same time, what you're doing, I really, really like. Like I said, good melodies. I like the idea of this like cleaner washed guitar and these like low pads and low basses that come in that really warm up the mix, natural drums. There's a lot that I love about this. I think it's fantastic. So y'all show some love. Ethan Rink right here in the chat. Last song of the day. Last song of the day. Yeah, it's a really, really good song. Really, really good structure. So it's just going to come down to like cleaning this up. One of the things that's kind of at the forefront before we even really dive in is just certain things being like I said, a little bit muddy in the low mids, and then other elements being really thin and bright. One being like, I think some of the percussion, some of the earlier drums, and then your vocal, they're a little bit thin and over bright. And then other elements that are having to kind of replace that and fill in the gaps with being a little bit more muddy and a little bit more inflated in the low end. And I would love to create a little bit of a better balance between the two, of a little bit more like mid and low mid energy in that vocal to like warm it up, make it feel really inviting to listen to, saturate tastefully, not such a high push on the vocals. You're not dealing with as much sibilant energy in the mix and like some harshness. Warm up that vocal just a little bit so it's not as extreme the way you're pushing your EQ curves. And then creating space for that warmer vocal in the rest of the mix by not pushing some of the far low end and stuff like that. I hope you get 20,000 likes when you play. No, the line is closed. Line is closed. We'll be back tomorrow. And it's not request anyways. All of the structure is at my profile if you want to read about it, but we're closed for today. This is our last song. And if it wasn't you, it'd be like 4 other people. So it'd have to be in line with everyone else. All right, let's run it from the top. Let's get into it. This is Ethan Rink right here in the chat. Let's dive in. Last one, y'all. Last one. Like even here, just as a note, right? And we'll dissect these, and this depends on how you want to produce it and stuff like that. This is largely speaking, progression wise, based on at least like some of your root notes for these chords. It's like a C sharp minor to a G sharp minor, right? So you have this. That's like the main progression that we have here, because you don't get a lot of that underneath the guitar. It's kind of washed by the reverb a little bit and the root note's not very clear. And then this pad comes in. The pad comes in like just holding root notes, right? Like it's just like holding maybe like the E or the C sharp or whatever it may be. And it just kind of flows and modulates over that. And that fills out a lot of the mix, but it's not really giving you the chord. The guitar is handling most of that, but the root of the guitar is not very clear. It would be helpful to have an element. I think a warm piano would be nice, or a Rhodes, or even just another electric guitar that does a single strum that just plays part of the progression to kind of guide that part of the track. Could be nice to just establish the progression so it doesn't feel too like there's no context for your vocal melodies. I'm gonna back it up here a little bit so we can kind of hear what I'm talking about, just loosely. Again, however you would see fit. Even just that, I mean, that's so subtle.
Every day I wake up crying, tracing star signs.
Even just that, you know?
I can't remember. I'm up all night. I'm chalk outlined. Blood penned palm
So simple.
lines, but you just forget me.
Builds up a little bit here. Just the simplicity of, I mean, that feels so cinematic. Let's wash that in some reverb, because I want to respect the texture of what you have here. Let's throw a bunch of reverb on it. Come on. That still feels super moody. You know what I mean? And I'm assuming that's the aesthetic you're going for. Dark, moody, emotional, cinematic. You know what I mean? Almost 7. Ooh. You know what I mean? Like get the 2 in there. Like just that texture underneath what's happening here. I'm gonna run it from the top again, just under that vocal with the reverb now on there, just so you can get an idea, right? Again, I wanna get your own wheel spinning. Do this, do it with a piano, steal this, I don't care. Add a bass in there, whatever you wanna do. All this does for me, and it takes the beautiful things you've already done. This is just like it's incomplete, it just needs a little more. Takes the beautiful things that you're doing. You might want to then maybe high pass the guitar a little bit so it doesn't have as much of the low end. Maybe thin out the reverb a little bit. Maybe bring your pad back in the mix by 3 or 4 dB so it's not too covering. And then give it context, right? So it's like taking this, you're just like, let's pocket this up here and fill in the gap, right? Because right now the pads and the guitar just kind of covering everything. Let's pocket it up here a little bit, and the vocals thin, right? So pocket it up here, fill in the gap with something dark, a bass, a low synth. I really do like a dark filtered piano. I think that works well. A bunch of reverb on it. I think that works really well. And then do that kind of on the whole song. This is the same thing I'm hearing for the whole song, right? Is like there's some things that they're stepping on the toes of some other things because there's so much environment, there's so much ambiance, there's so much reflection happening, reverb, delay, whatever it may be, pads, stuff like that, that I'm missing what the song is. Like I'm missing what's the chord, what's the thing that's happening here, what melody is the vocal sticking to, what's the context for it, like what's the support for it. Those are the things that I want to hear a little bit more of, because I really do genuinely love so much of what you're doing here. Okay. Tracy, thank you for the follow. Like maybe let this run just like this. Maybe a better balance, maybe. But like let this run for the first couple progressions. And then here. With the kick. Ooh. Come on. Nasty. Come on. 7. Stupid. Chills. It feels totally, I mean, it's just to the 7. Oh, come on. I love it so much. Okay. Please do that. Please do that. You don't have to. It's your song. Whatever. Do your thing. Please do that. Okay, let's move a little deeper. You got me hyped now. Now my wheels are spinning. But anyways, and this is all under Nicole. Good to see you. Sorry, I'm bouncing around here. I'm getting hyped now. You got me energized. The thing that I'm really loving, Retrack, thank you for the goats, man. I appreciate you so much. Now that we have that established, I want you to take not just what I'm doing sound design wise, but take that idea and apply it to the rest of the song, right? And just make sure that we're filling the gaps and also making sure that each thing has a distinct pocket in the song. Okay, I want to get to where the drums are coming in, but same thing kind of applies to a lot of that. You have an awesome voice, by the way. Really cool. I mean, this reminds me a lot of like the like pop punk stuff that I really liked in the like 2010s and stuff like that. There's some like really, really cool texture there. And I like that with this like dark pop feel. That's like dark alternative pop, shoegazy kind of slow down feel, reverberated feel that I really, really like. So like there's a lot about this that one feels heavy and dark and moody and modern, but also nostalgic in a lot of ways. And I think that's great. Like this to me, there's a lot of this that I'm really, really enjoying. It's sparking a lot of things in me. So your ideas, I think, are there. Your melody structure is fantastic. So keep all of that in mind. Sometimes the thing with stuff, like, especially when you're doing like shoegaze stuff or like progressive metal, even like just getting into the kind of sleep token territory, whatever, like when you're dealing with that kind of stuff, you have to really decide where you place your ambiance, you know what I mean? And like how you process, Ashley, thank you for the follow, how you process certain elements, right? Everything can't have a ton of wash to it, but wash and modulation, like reverb and ambiance and stuff like that. So if like everything is reflective, then it just becomes noise. It just becomes feedback. So be really strategic with how you do that. You might want like a fairly dry bass, pretty dry drums, but maybe a ton of reverb on the snare. Maybe the overheads or the room mics are really open. Maybe the guitar, maybe the lead clean guitars that are carrying your melodies have a ton of reverb and chorus and flanger, but your heavy gated rhythm guitars, if you do a heavier song, right? I don't even know if you would, or if you do, but those are maybe really dry and punchy and snappy, super gated. And then, you have your lead vocal, which is like clean and clear with a bit of like delay on it and some wash and reverb, but the backgrounds have a ton of ambiance to it. It's finding the balance, because if everything's there, everything has that, then you just kind of lose yourself in the reflection. And you lose, again, like some of the progression, some of the actual beat and stuff like that. Anyways, just a no, but let's move it on. I also love, you have some other progression changes in here I think are fantastic. I think they're really, really cool. Automation on your ping pong delays. Again, tons of stuff I love about it. In the twilight, there's a dun, 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 little backgrounds right there. Beautiful. Absolutely love it. But again, like I mentioned before, vocals a little bit thin. So just be careful that you're not high passing too high. Make sure you're not cutting out those low mids too much. For a vocal like yours, you probably a max of a high pass at like 100 hertz, maybe even lower. 80 to 100 hertz is about the top that I would high pass for a vocal like yours. Really depends on the structure, but especially for the lead. And then if it still feels boomy or it feels like there's some low mud, low mid mud, still feels a little too thick, then use 100 to 300 hertz as that pocket to restrain some of those frequencies. But you're not cutting them out, you're just controlling them and suppressing them a little bit. Most of that boominess happens between 100 and 300 hertz. So if that's forward a little bit, it's going to be boomy, muddy, bummy. It's going to be boomy and muddy. And if you pull that down too far, the vocal gets kind of thin and brittle and tinny. Your vocal's not all the way that range, but I am missing out on what is a lot of your actual vocal texture. Like a lot of the actual energy behind your vocal happens in those low mids. And so when you carve all of that out, I'm losing a lot of like the texture and a lot of the actual character of your vocal, because a lot of the body of it's actually been taken out. A lot of the like fundamental frequencies of the vocal are taken out. So just be careful of thinning out too much. Keep it in there. You don't want it boomy. You don't want it boomy. You want it controlled, but you also don't want it thin. Let's get into the drums here real quick. Same thing, drums here. I don't mind the selection of them. I think they actually sound good. It's like good movement behind the drums as well. Don't mind that one bit. Same thing, they're a little carved out. So there's like a little bit of a, almost like U-shape EQ curve. So it's like a little bit of like far low end, it sounds like, really thinned out in the mids and then really bright. So like you get this kind of really bright up here, nothing happening in the middle, and a little bit of subharmonics down here, but there's no fundamentals in there. So there's no like warmth, there's no energy, there's no punch behind them, because it's all been kind of surgically cut out of the middle. So just make sure on those drums you're not carving out all of the mids. They're there for a very, very important reason, and they give you a lot of energy and a lot of vibrancy into the mix. So if something is like ringing and it's nasty sounding and it's sounding harsh and it's giving you issues, suppress it if you need to. You can be kind of surgical with stuff like that, where it feels like, this is giving me some issues. I'm hearing some ringing at like 1500 hertz. Target it a little bit, drop it down by like 3 dB, but you're leaving the life of everything else in there, and keeping it sounding a little bit, no oomph. And a lot of that oomph happens between like 400 and 4K hertz. There's a lot of energy in there. If that's carved out to where you just have a big, thick low end over here, and then really, really bright, kind of harsh high end, you miss all of that energy in the middle of the mix. It's so vital, especially for a rock record or rock adjacent record. So important. That's where all those guitars shine. That's where a lot of the body of the vocal is. It's where a lot of the fundamental energy of the drums lie, especially for like kick, snare, toms, low end of your overhead, stuff like that. It's vital to have that in there. So just make sure you don't carve too much of that energy out of the mix. There is some piano in there. I think I'm hearing that for the first time on the second little pass right here. So you might just want a little bit of maybe. Yeah, I think literally it's not like this. It's a little brighter and a little carved. Yeah, it's there. It's doing pretty close to what I was doing. So just put that to the middle. Maybe filter it a little bit. Like maybe go darker, more reverb. Right now it's like a little bit more carved, like upright sound, a little bit bass heavy. Maybe darken a little bit, put it in the beginning, and you have the same thing. You might even just be able to copy it over and filter it, and you'll be ready to go. I think I'm picking up now that my ears like trained towards it. I'm hearing it for the first time. All right, let's do this breakdown. Because you don't want too much low end in that piano, right? You hear that energy down there because the bass is there now, and those are going to start stepping on each other's toes. So you don't want this to feel super inflated. You can hear how this is there, but it's not filling up the low end. It's not. You don't have a lot of the energy down there. There's a little bit of the energy carved out. So it just fills in the mids between, again, 400 to 1200 hertz, like in that little pocket right there. It feels really warm, but it's not boomy. Let the bass, let the kick drum, let it handle most of that. Some of your low pads, let it do most of that work. But that's what I'm talking about, of like compartmentalizing certain things so that they don't all live in the whole structure of the song, but there's actually some space for each of these elements to exist in the mix, and they complement each other. They're not stepping on each other's toes, so on and so on. I always sidechain everything low end in my mixes. I wouldn't do that. I mean, if it works for your song, do it for your song. There's strategy to that, right? And there's times where I sidechain a kick to a bass, but there's also times where that's not the desired pump that you're looking for. If you don't want the suppression of certain frequencies or the suppression of certain dynamics, you actually want the full transients present, then you just need to make sure that you're actually creating space for those elements to exist. Mid-side can also be good to that within the field to make sure that if there's something you want to exist closer to mono or a little bit more active in the side channels, you can make that happen. But I don't always anything, and I would recommend against always doing anything, just because it can be challenging. It can be challenging, and oftentimes I mix metal, so it almost always works. Yeah, 100%, right? And that's what I was saying. I don't disagree necessarily outside of the always part, just because what I recommend most people do, if you find the need to constantly do a corrective thing like that, oftentimes, not even necessarily in your case, but in a lot of people's case, it just needs better. Like if you are constantly side chaining kick to bass on a hip hop record or something like that, and you don't care about the effect of side chaining, if you're not trying to get the pump of side chaining that's popular in, like, R&B and lo-fi and whatever it may be, hip hop and stuff like that, if you're not looking for the effect of a side chain, but you're just looking for the clarity of a side chain, sometimes that can just easily be done by having better sound selection that fits together better and better space carved for it. Anyways, side tangent there. Let's get it. Yeah, don't always. No. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense grammatically, but you get the idea, right? Like I try to stay away from like, this is how I always do something, because then I run into it like another, I'll mix the next song and it's in a different style, and I'm trying to get the same thing, and I'll sterilize something by doing something in one space and copying it over to another space that just doesn't make the most sense. Or even on the production side, depending on if I'm mixing or producing, like if I own the record and I'm doing all the sound selection myself, more often than not, I will go back to the guitar amp and tweak it. I'll go back to the drums and tune them differently, change where the mics are, change where the, if there's phase issues, like I'll switch out my mic to a different mic that's carrying a little bit more of the energy that I want to have in the mix. So more often than not, I prefer, especially when I am in control of the production side, to change sound selection and change source over try to fix it with a different Band-Aid, even though sometimes that is the answer. Sometimes it is the answer. We're like, I like these sounds, or the artist likes these sounds, and we just got to find a way to force them to fit, right? And that's where the side chaining definitely can come in. All right. Let's get in the outro here. It's cool. That's a cool record, man. I like some of the bit crushing, some of the saturation in there. There's a lot I really, really love about this. Y'all show some love. Show some love. Closing us out today. That's Ethan Rink right here in the chat. Please follow them. Please show them some love and support. Go boost their algorithm. Go comment on some stuff. Go stream stuff if they have it out on platforms. Show them some love and support. I really like this style of music. Like this, just like dark, moody, ethereal, ambient stuff. I really, really like it. So just very peaceful to listen to. It feels emotional. It really grabs me. So I really like what you're doing from a sound selection standpoint. For me, some of this is just like some like maturity in the process on the mixing side, which is a different world. Like tracking and producing and building your sounds and recording your vocal is a bit of a different animal than how all of that fits together cohesively. So I'm not mad at that at all. Like you have a really, really solid foundation here that I think if you just polish and manipulate and filter slightly different and position slightly different, and just control balancing slightly different, I think you're gonna have a really, really cool record that people are gonna love and relate to, and really attach to. So y'all, please show some love to Ethan. That's gonna close us out for today. I'm gonna get out of here, celebrate the anniversary, and chill for the rest of the day, which I do not get to do like ever. So I'm very, very excited to hop off and enjoy the rest of an afternoon, which I don't get to do very often. I'm very, very excited about that. For those of you who don't know, really quick spiel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Torvik. I am a full-time audio engineer, producer, and session musician. That is what I do for a living. I've done that for the last 14 plus years. I'm also a classically trained pianist. So that is the perspective of the live stream, but it's also what I do for a job. So if you're ever interested in those services, shoot me me a message, shoot me a DM. You can reach out through the website. Of course, you can reach out, on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Maybe I'll do my best to, get to y'all as soon as I possibly can. Sometimes sometimes I get lost in requests and I got to always double check those. But if you ever are interested in session work, it's a lot of what I do for my job. So tracking electric, acoustic, bass guitars. My main thing is synths, keys, hardware, analog synths. I got a bunch of them in my studio, more to come. I do a lot of work in that, live drums, vocals, whatever it may be, full production suites, and of course, mixing and mastering. If you're ever interested in those services, shoot me a message. Would love to work with you. Would love to chat about the record. Make sure it's a good fit, creatively, stylistically, and of course, talk timeline, talk budget, stuff like that. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all so much. We'll be live again tomorrow afternoon, so definitely tap in. Hopefully, we'll see y'all soon. Peace.